What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 4 EC. Chapter 11 Isolated Thoughts. By the time Lin Chen and others arrived at Windmill Village, it was already evening a few days later. Walking a familiar path to Dayton's house, I heard Dayton's angry voice before I even got close. Luffy, Ace, come over here and take a shower. Ha ha ha, no. Luffy, watch the move. Ace, you sprayed me with water again. Perona, come here and see if your nephew is disobedient again. Following a crackling sound, there was a moment of silence in the room, followed by the crying sounds of Ace and Luffy. Auntie, it hurts so much when you spank me. Who told you not to listen to Aunt Dayton? What should I do if I catch a cold while running around naked in such a cold day? Hearing that familiar voice, Lin Chen felt a warmth in his heart. Standing in front of the door, Lin Chen hesitated for a long time and finally plucked up the courage to knock on the door. Who? Dayton was holding a thin cigarette in his mouth and a wooden stick in his hand, looking at the three people in front of the door with an unfriendly expression. Perona behind her also looked cautious, carefully protecting Ace and Luffy behind her. Lin Chen choked up for a moment, and his eyes were a little moist when he saw the familiar Perona, Ace, Luffy, and Dayton. After regaining his composure, Lin Chen spoke slowly. I am a friend of Brother Perona. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Dayton's eyes were shocked, and the people in Perona behind him also fell silent. Since the person in front of him was Lin Chen's friend, Dayton's tone was much gentler. Are you Lin? His friend. What's the reason for you coming here? Lin Chen took out the new clothes he bought in Logue Town from his arms. I thought of them when I returned to East Blue this time. Winter is coming soon. I bought some thick clothes. Please accept them. Dayton looked at Lin Chen with a complicated expression and accepted the clothes that were handed to him. Seeing Dayton accept his clothes, Lin Chen said hesitantly. Can I go in and see them? He asked me to take care of them when I have time. After a pause, Dayton turned sideways to make room. Lin Chen walked into the room and wanted to reach out and touch the heads of several people but was afraid of scaring them. The three people from Perona looked timidly at the strange man wearing a mask in front of them, and some of them stared at him with big eyes. For a long time, Lin Chen sighed in his heart and moved his lips but only said one sentence. You should live a good life from now on. Then Lin Chen turned around and walked out of the room, preparing to leave. Perona's breath froze when she heard Lin Chen's words. Such familiar words, her brother once often said these words in her ears. Elder brother. Without thinking, Perona rushed out of the room and hugged the masked person in front of her tightly. Perona felt that he really looked like Lin Chen. Lin Chen felt that Perona was hugging him tightly behind him, and his body was still trembling slightly. Lin Chen couldn't hold himself tight. How he wanted to take off the mask now and hold Perona in his arms to comfort her. But he suppressed his emotions with absolute reason. Lin Chen turned around and gently touched Perona's head. I'm not your brother, I'm your brother's friend. We have something else to do, so we'll leave first. As he spoke, Lin Chen pushed Perona's hand away from him and looked at Dayton, who was also a little embarrassed. I'm really sorry. Perona recognized the wrong person. She misses her brother so much. Dayton hugged Perona and kept apologizing to Lin Chen. Lin Chen waved his hand, looked at Perona's red eyes and turned around to leave. Lying in Dayton's arms, Perona sobbed softly. Aunt Dayton, isn't he really a brother? Perona thinks he is like a brother. Oh, it's already very late today, go back to bed quickly. Be good. Lin Chen, who returned to the ship, lay on the bed and tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Only by completing your own plan can you reunite with your family. My current progress is too slow. Half a year has passed before I knew it, but I only found 2 people at dawn, and I don't even have any plans for the celestial dragons. If this continues, I don't know when it will be over. We have to speed up the progress. When we find the third Logia demon fruit power, we will carry out the first plan against the celestial dragons. While thinking about what could give the world government and celestial dragons a blow, a word appeared in Lin Chen's mind. Heavenly gold. At the same time, another person also appeared in Lin Chen's heart. Doflamingo. A brand new plan was quietly formulated by Lin Chen, just waiting for the day it will be implemented. Crocodile came to look for Lin Chen early the next morning and found that Lin Chen's temperament had completely changed. Different from the casualness before, Lin Chen now looked very cold. Lin Chen looked at Crocodile and said sternly, Lao Sha, do you know Doflamingo? After hearing this, Crocodile thought for a while and finally remembered this person. Joker. I heard he is the emerging #1 figure in the underground world and has established a Don Quixote family in North Blue. Don Quixote family. Reciting this name silently, Lin Chen seemed to have some impression. Suddenly, Lin Chen remembered where he had seen this thing. Mariejois, where the celestial dragons live. In an instant, all my thoughts became clear. Old Shaw, you may not believe it, but Doflamingo is a celestial dragons. Crocodile was a little surprised when he heard this. How is that possible? Shouldn't the celestial dragons be in Mariejois? Lin Chen didn't say much. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I am convinced that Doflamingo is a celestial dragon's. Crocodile, who believed Lin Chen, was still a little confused. Okay, so what does it have to do with us if Doflamingo is a celestial dragon's? Lin Chen looked at Crocodile and chuckled. Don't forget what we do at daybreak. Crocodile's pupils shrank when he heard Lin Chen's words. Are we going to take action against Doflamingo? Lin Chen shook his head. It's hard to say whether we will take action or not. Let's see if he cooperates first. If he doesn't cooperate with us, we will deal with him. Hearing this, Crocodile nodded. Then what do we do next? After looking at the Windmill village behind him, Lin Chen spoke crisply. Go north blue. Find Doflamingo of the Don Quixote family. Besides, isn't he also from the underground world? After finding him, let him search for Logia Devil Fruit or free Logia Demon Fruit power. Before leaving, Lin Chen took the opportunity to clean up the sea kings and pirates around Windmill village. The moves he used also amazed Crocodile and Enel. What surprised the two of them was that Lin Chen could actually fly. And they did not rely on fruits and physical skills to fly, which made the two of them more in awe of Lin Chen. Especially after watching Lin Chen's fingertips flash in the air, and a beam of light directly annihilated an offshore master, both of them swallowed subconsciously. They felt the fatal threat from the beam of light. After everything was done, the group set sail again, preparing to head to North Blue where the Don Quixote family is located. Chapter 12 Ships Falling from the Sky. It had been a month since they left Windmill Village. Every day was abalone, lobster and sea kings, and Lin Chen's knees were already aching. Lao Sha, how long does it take to get to North Blue? No hurries. Crocodile looked at the map in his hand with a solemn expression, and then relaxed his brows after adjusting the map's direction. Enel, increase your momentum. If you keep walking in this direction, you can reach the town of North Blue. Receive. Enel released an electric light from both hands into the nitrogen accelerator at the stern of the ship, and soon the ship began to drift on the sea. Lao Sha, can you control the direction? Didn't you see that the boat was floating? You're afraid of a hammer. I've been vomiting after eating seafood this month, and we'll be in town soon. Hurry up. IXXXXXXX. The banana town in North Blue is famous for its banana production. Today, it encountered a group of vicious pirates, but the townspeople were not afraid because this is where the Don Quixote family takes refuge. The two groups faced off at the port, and the mayor had informed the Don Quixote family that the other party was on their way. Be obedient and hand over all your money to me. I advise you not to be ungrateful. The pirate leader Siri licked his lips. As a pirate who walked out of Banana Town, the first thing he did was of course repay his hometown. Zilly, you son of a bitch. If we hadn't raised you up with shit and urine, would you still be alive? That's right. Now that you've become successful, you're back to snatch your hometown. Are you still a human being? Zilly raised an eyebrow and smiled disdainfully. You old fools still have the nerve to talk. When Lousy put down his pride and knocked on doors just to ask for a little food, not one of them gave me a good look. Don't say I'm here to rob you. For the sake of my fellow villagers, I'll only take 80% of your berries. You know, I've robbed all the other towns. In fact, Zilly did not rob other villages. He robbed Banana Town just because these villagers were kind-hearted and came to practice their skills. The mayor looked at Shi Li with a sad and angry expression. He should have strangled this white-eyed wolf if he had known it. Zilly shook the steel knife in his hand, feeling a little impatient. Okay, let's not talk about reminiscing about old times. I'm still rushing to make my next business deal. If you are sensible, hand over the money quickly, otherwise Lousy's steel knife will not recognize anyone. The men in the town were not weak people. When they saw that Zilly wanted to be tough, they all picked up their weapons. Mayor, let's fight. Our people in Banana Town have killed 8 pirates if not 10. Don't be afraid of this guy. Exactly. When he was a child, Lousy chased him and beat him. Now that his wings have become stiff, he wants to rebel. Seeing that his words were of no use, Zilly's expression turned gloomy. He looked at his men who were all suppressing smiles, and veins were exposed on their foreheads. Don't blame me for being rude. Come on, little ones. Kill the one who said he beat me when he was a child. Following Zilly's order, his pirates rushed towards the crowd, and the two groups immediately fought together. When the two groups of people were fighting, a ship also flew in the sky. Lin Chen. Enel, didn't you see the ship was on fire and took off? Enel. Crocodile asked me to increase the power, is it my fault? Crocodile. What are you talking about? It seems that two groups of people are fighting below, so we have to make an emergency landing. As soon as Crocodile finished speaking, the ship flying in the sky hit the two groups of people underground. The villagers and pirates were shocked when they saw this scene. They didn't wake up from a dream until they were about to be hit in the face and ran away one after another. Wood style. Wooden golem jutsu. In order to prevent people on the ground from being affected, Lin Chen used the wood style that he had not learned for a long time. A pair of legs suddenly stretched out from the bottom of the boat and stood on the ground, and a pair of arms stretched out from both sides of the boat to keep it stable. Crocodile glanced at Lin Chen with some confusion. Why did this move not match the name? Seeing that no one on the ground was affected by him, Lin Chen breathed a sigh of relief and turned to look at Enel angrily. Can you believe what this guy Lao Sha says? He means whatever he says. The ship is flying into the sky and he doesn't know how to stop. Don't be his lackey in the future. Oh, got it. Enel felt a little aggrieved. He was obviously very obedient, so why was he still being scolded? Looking at Crocodile who looked like he was fine, Lin Chen wished he could give him a slap in the face. After dispersing wood style, the ship also stayed firmly on the ground, but the butt of the ship was a little burnt. After glancing at the villagers and pirates, Lin Chen stretched and heard a somewhat harsh sound. Ha 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 ha, it seems that the island is really lively. I wonder who is causing trouble on my Don Quixote family's territory. Doflamingo glanced at Zilly, then at Lin Chen and the others who were wearing the same clothes, and finally focused on Lin Chen and the others. Touching his chin, Doflamingo looked at Lin Chen and smiled evilly. Your Majesty doesn't look very friendly. After scratching his head, Lin Chen looked at Crocodile with a fierce look, then at Enel with a childish look, and finally pointed at himself and asked with some uncertainty. Are you talking about me? Hearing this, Doflamingo's smile froze a little. Is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Zilly had already retreated in his heart at this time. These two groups of people seemed not to be trifled with. He had been struggling all the way since he was a child, so he still had some discernment. While Lin Chen and Doflamingo were confronting each other, Zilly quietly retreated, but he didn't expect Doflamingo and Lin Chen to speak out at the same time. Pirates over there, don't move. Pirates over there, don't move. The two looked at each other. The situation was a little awkward. A trace of cold sweat broke out on Zilly's forehead. What on earth was going on with these two guys? Doflamingo turned to look at the mayor. Which of these two groups of guys is the intruder? The mayor was hesitant. Although Zilly was really a pirate, Lin Chen didn't look like a good person. It's that group of pirates. While we were fighting, another group of people fell from the sky on a boat. The boat even stretched out its legs and arms. The mayor seemed to have thought of something terrible as he described the scene he just saw. Ignoring the second half of the mayor's words, Doflamingo looked at Zilly and his group with a smile. He licked his lips and launched the attack without hesitation. Bullet string. In Lin Chen's eyes, Doflamingo's index finger instantly popped out countless thin lines, directly piercing through Zilly's group of pirates. At the same time, there were countless thin lines scattered in the sky. After clearing the group of pirates, Doflamingo pursed his lips. After flexing his fingers and putting away his index and ring fingers, Mingay looked at Lin Chen and the others with a smile. What do you want to do next? Chapter 13 Good Actors and Good Sticks Chapter 14 The Kind-Hearted Lin Chen. Speaking of that day, Dawn and the legendary strong man. Taking a sip of tea, Lin Chen spoke eloquently, as if he was immersed in the scene. Snapped. He picked up Doflamingo's favorite piece of black jade and banged it on the table. Several cracks appeared in the black jade. In this way, the century-long war ended. Dawn did not want to appear in the world, so she remained anonymous. Each generation was worse than the last. Now I am the leader of this generation of Dawn, Madara. While drinking tea, Lin Chen felt that the story he had made up was quite good. It combined Dream of Red Mansions, The Plum in the Golden Ping, The Legend of Zhen Huan, etc. Lin Chen worked hard to make up this thrilling story. Even Crocodile and Enel were doubting whether Lin Chen was telling the truth. Doflamingo glanced at the smashed Mo Yu and felt a flash of distress. Although he was stunned for a while, he didn't believe much. This guy's ability to write stories is so poor. Why doesn't it look like a passionate story, but instead full of resentment and complicated emotions? Even the always wise Doflamingo's brain shut down for a while before he could figure out the relationship. Lin Chen looked at Doflamingo with burning eyes. Here I sincerely invite you to join our Dawn organization, for the peace of the world, and to continue to maintain the rule of the celestial dragons. Everything will be fine. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Doflamingo refused without even thinking. I'm sorry, although the story you told me is very vivid, but I still run my Don Quixote family. Lin Chen was a little helpless. Is his charm so bad? Why are others so shocked? When their domineering aura dissipated, all the powerful men from all over the world came to vote. It took a lot of effort to recruit people by myself, but was eventually rejected. Since soft is not enough, I have no choice but to be hard. Hearing Lin Che's words, Doflamingo's expression froze. Has this guy finally been exposed? Lin Chen looked at Doflamingo and said lightly. Join, or die. Perish along with your Don Quixote family. You guy. Doflamingo had a blue vein on his forehead. He had always been a proud person, but now he was being threatened. Gritting his teeth, Doflamingo's fists clenched, but he was eventually forced to join in. Okay, I'll join Daybreak, but what can you bring me? Excellent question. Lin Chen clapped his hands. I've always been a kind person and I never like to force others. This crocodile also refused my solicitation at first, but I told him that I had clues about Pluton, and he happily cooperated with me. This Enel is a weakling. He joined my organization under my kind words and advice. I promised to turn him into a strong man. As for you, As long as you join my organization, I can help you restore your status as celestial dragons. It's not like I've never been to Mariejois before. I've gotten along well with the Marine senior management and the 5 elders before, and we have a very good relationship. It's not just a matter of words to ask you to go back. Believe it or not, when I appear in front of them now, they immediately gather together to warmly welcome me. It's just that I keep a low profile and don't want to be exposed. Doflamingo looked at Lin Chen suspiciously, a little doubtful. Really smart people always tell half-truths and half-lies, but Doflamingo feels that these words still have a certain degree of credibility. After thinking about Lin Chen's conditions, Doflamingo felt that joining Breaking Dawn was not unacceptable. He stretched out his hand to Lin Chen and said with a smile. In this case, we have a cooperative relationship. I hope we can have good cooperation in the future. Holding Doflamingo's hand tightly, Lin Chen did the same. We will need more help in the future. So now, go and find me information about the Logia fruit immediately. We are both in the same organization, and you must do well in the tasks assigned by the leader. Lin Chen patted Brother Ming on the shoulder, feeling old-fashioned. I'm optimistic about you, Brother Ming. The corner of his mouth twitched. Doflamingo Kaido. Don't forget your promise. Don't worry, I always mean what I say. Several people left the study. The senior cadres outside the door looked respectful, but they were all a little confused as to why their young master looked uncomfortable. Virgo, Diamante, Pika, Torbal, put down what you are doing for the time being and go to the underground world to spread the news about finding the Logia fruit. If there is any news, please inform me immediately. Yes, although the 4 of them didn't understand why, they all took this matter to heart when they saw Brother Ming's serious look. Following the news of the Don Quixote family, Joker and Sand Crocodile also joined forces to activate their own connections in the underground world. The entire underground world was a little excited, and everyone was speculating why the 2 people joined forces and wanted to find out the power behind it. In the end, only one piece of information could be found: the Dawn organization. As for the members, they currently only know about Crocodile and Doflamingo, and no other information is known at all. The story Lin Chen made up that day was also spread out by Doflamingo intentionally or unintentionally, which made it even more confusing. Mariejois. The 5 elders looked at the news presented by their subordinates and were a little confused. 5 elders holding a long knife. What's going on with this Doflamingo, and why do I have no impression of this Dawn organization? Is this really a secret among the celestial dragons? Nagasu 5 elders. Some words can be believed, and some cannot be believed. Maybe this is another trick of Doflamingo. After all, he is still haunted by that incident. Mustached 5 elders. HMPH. What kind of waves can a guy who was expelled from celestial dragons make? Golden Beard 5 elders. For now, let's focus on the Marine. Since Sengoku recovered from his injury and returned to the Marine, the connection there has become weaker and weaker. I think we need to place a group of people in the Marine. Mustache 5 elders. Damn it. It's been almost a year since Lin Chen's incident. Is it still like this at Marine's place? Curly hair 5 elders. Oh, I can only pay more attention to Marine. As time passed, news of Logia Devil Fruit finally came from the underground world. Logia Devil Fruit, Snow Fruit. But at the same time, another piece of bad news came. The North Blue royal family, the Vinsmoke family, was also eyeing this fruit. Through the work of some thoughtful people, the fruit happened to make its way to North Blue to be auctioned off at a huge auction. This also attracted the attention of many people. After all, the value of a Logia Devil Fruit is self-evident. Chapter 15 Undercurrent. Advertise here. In Doflamingo's private room, Brother Ming and others are plotting the news. Dover, why do you want to spread the news about Snow Fruit? It's obviously already in our pocket. Diamante was a little confused. The 4 of them worked hard to find the Logia Snow Fruit. In the blink of an eye, they were instructed by Ming Jie to quietly release the news in the underground world, and they were also auctioned in the name of an auction. At the same time, he anonymously spread information to the Vinsmoke family. It seems that Brother Ming did not want to get the Snow Fruit. After calmly sensing her surroundings, Diamante whispered. Is it because of that group of people? Brother Ming said calmly. I was forced to join their Dawn organization, and that Madara asked me to look for Logia Snow Fruit. What? How can these damn people force you to join them? Instructing Diamante not to get excited, Doflamingo smiled. Join as soon as you join. That guy is full of lies. Why is Daybreak an organization that has good relations with Marine and Celestial Dragons? If you really want to do that, why hide your head and hide your tail? They are just a bunch of rats. After a pause, Brother Ming continued. But now they are indeed powerful, but I won't do things for him so easily. The other 4 people were silent. They didn't expect that the newly established Don Quixote family would be restrained by Lin Chen and his group before they could show off their skills. Turning his head and looking at the 4 of them, Brother Ming said. Where has that guy Rosinant been these past few months? He took an adopted child out to sea to find a cure. He will probably come back in a while. Diamante replied. There was silence for a moment. Something was not right since his brother came back, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. On the other hand, as the news of the Logia fruit being auctioned spread around the world, many smart people saw business opportunities. Along with this came many zone fruits, and Paramesha fruits were also brought to this auction. With the beginning of snow fruit, merchants from all over the world brought devil fruit to North Blue. The pirates, marines, world government, and even the revolutionary army also noticed this unprecedented devil fruit auction. In order not to cause riots, Mingay set the auction venue in a non-franchised country in North Blue. But even he didn't expect that the auction matter would become more and more troublesome, and there was a faint tendency to develop in an uncontrollable direction. Ha 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 ha, since you can't control it, let's make a scene. Doflamingo grinned in the darkness, reveling in the coming riot. Naval headquarters, Marineford, Sengoku, who had recovered from his injuries, was sitting in a high position. Looking down, he saw all marine generals above the vice admiral level. Sengoku. Everyone has heard about North Blue's recent auction. There must be many pirates going to this feast, and we, Marine, are also going to participate in this auction. Turning his head to glance at Gion and Cake in the corner, Sengoku continued. On the one hand, the Logia fruit is very rare. If you can get it, it will add combat power to the Marine. In addition, I heard that the op fruit will also appear in this auction. Don't let go of the other devil fruits. Get all you can get. It will only add more killings to those cruel pirates. Vice Admiral Doberman was a little confused. Marshal, do we really want to take the money to auction? Marine's treasury seems to be very tight. Hearing this, Sengoku smiled and turned to look at Crane. Of course we won't actually go to the auction. This time the battle plan will be formulated by Crane Vice Admiral. While getting the fruits, we must also catch all the pirates in one go. Everyone looked at he, who cleared his throat and said. First of all, let me explain the generals participating in this war, Admiral Akainu. Vice Admiral Garp, Crane, Doberman, Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan, Storo Berry, Gion, Cake, Dalmatian. In addition, there is very likely the shadow of the Pirate Emperor behind this auction, so everyone must be careful. Then there were only a few people left in the office who had gone to fight, and Crane began to formulate a careful battle plan. When everyone's plans were almost made, there was a sudden knock on the door of the room. Hey, why don't you include me in this matter, old man? I've already said hello to Sengoku. Everyone turned to look, and it turned out to be Marine Instructor Zephyr. He was silent for a while, his eyes scanning Gion and Kaki uncertainly. In that case, Zephyr will also join this battle. While Marine was making plans for this auction, the pirates in New World were also ready to make a move. Kaido of Beast's Pirates sent his 3 plagues to see if there were any good zone fruits. Charlotte Linlin of the Big Mom Pirates sent her 3 desert generals to participate in the auction and was invited by the Vinsmoke family to discuss marriage. What's interesting is that Whitebeard has no intention of attending, but none of his sons would think so. Marco. Dad, there's op fruit in this auction, let's go check it out. La, it's enough for me to have you, I don't need any op fruit. Marco turned his head and looked at the other captains. He had already made a decision in his eyes. His father's health has been getting worse and worse in recent years. Maybe op fruit can help them cure his father. It's okay, Dad, let's go take a look this time. Seeing this, Whitebeard didn't do anything to stop him. He was very satisfied to see his sons showing such filial piety. On the other hand, Crocodile also looked at Lin Chen with some confusion. Do we really want to believe Doflamingo? This auction seems weird. It's okay. All ingenuity is useless in the face of absolute strength. He and I are just using each other, but now that he is not as strong as us, he can only use these small tricks to disgust us. Lin Chen continued as if thinking of something. I heard that this auction will be in a non-franchise country. Crocodile. That's right, non-franchised countries are a no-nonsense zone after all. It is estimated that many pirates will go to the carnival by then. I heard that people from Marine, World Government, Kaido, Charlotte Linlin and Whitebeard are all coming to participate. It doesn't seem to be the case. A good thing. Okay, how long until the auction starts? Crocodile. 1 month. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with indescribable gaze, and a new plan emerged in his heart. Crocodile scratched his head and asked softly. Do we have enough money? The total money we spent in the Golden Land last time must be enough to buy snow fruit, but why didn't I see you change it to berry? Lin Chen chuckled. Do you think other people will buy it obediently? Let's see who is more capable then. Hearing this, Crocodile smiled knowingly. He liked this method. Chapter 16 Sika Kingdom. Mariejois, meeting of 5 elders. There was a smile on 5 elders' mustache. A lot of people in Marine's operation this time are from our group. Look how Garp and Zephyr got the snow fruit. Another long-bearded 5 elders nodded after hearing this. With Sakazuki and 5 elite vice admirals, even CP9 is dispatched. We must snatch the snow fruit to add to the plan. We must not fall into the hands of Gion. The 5 elders holding the katana thought for a while and said. As Crane still as neutral as Sengoku. It would be much more convenient if we could draw her into our faction. The blonde 5 elders shook their heads. We can't figure out her and Sengoku's attitude. Let's see how Marine's battle turns out this time. The last curly-haired five elders sighed. We need to win over more Marine admirals. If we can't win over them, we need to cultivate our own Marine admirals. Several people nodded, agreeing with his statement. Since the war at Marineford, gaps have developed among Marine's top brass. Although they are all still following Sengoku's orders, they have actually split into three factions. The iron-blooded Hawks, headed by Akainu and the five vice-admirals, obeyed the world government's instructions. In order to drive away the pirates and eliminate all factors that were unfavorable to the world government's rule, many senior marine generals had already turned to them. The Wairo faction headed by Garp, Aokiji, and Zephyr. This faction was mostly people around Lin Chen. They relied on the three of Garp to barely compete with the Hawks. They ignored the world government's orders, but still obeyed Sengoku. The order and the justice he believed in were exactly the justice that Lin Chen had in mind at the beginning. The last faction is the neutral faction headed by Sengoku, Suru, and Kizaru. They do not participate in any factional disputes and aim to balance the two major factions and maintain Marine, which is about to fall apart. In their view, no matter how opposed the two factions are, they must unite when facing foreign enemies, especially pirates, so they continue to mediate between the two factions. This time, Marine took a big shot at the auction, mostly to compete for snow fruit to cultivate Gion and cake. Needless to say, Gion is naturally a gentle person. Every time he meets Akainu and Sengoku, he has a bad face. Even Aokiji, Gion only has a better face. With the help of the Hawks, Cake soon showed great potential. He was not weaker than Gion, and both of them had future admiral status. The two of them were also regarded as pawns in a secret competition between the two factions. North Blue, Sika country. As one of the very few non-franchised countries in the world, Sika has its own difficulties. The people can't even eat, so how can they pay for the gold in the sky? If they can't pay the gold in the sky, naturally there will be no marine to protect it, and this place has become a place for pirates to plunder. Lin Chen stood at the port of Sika Kingdom and looked away. He turned to look at Brother Ming beside him. Are you sure the auction house is here? Brother Ming smiled. Don't worry, we don't need to worry. Even if we don't care about him now, someone will definitely build the auction house. Glancing at Brother Ming, Lin Chen pretended not to know anything. Thanks to you we were able to find snow fruit. Don't worry, I will take you back to Mariejois soon. Doflamingo just smiled, his eyes darkened under his sunglasses. Walking on the streets of Sika country, Lin Chen frowned. It's so messy, just so messy. Violence and bloodshed can occur in this country at any time, especially when the auction day is approaching, and countless pirates swarm in, creating even more evil. Pirates get out. A stone was thrown at Lin Chen. He turned around and saw a little girl of several years old looking at him angrily. A teenage girl rushed out from the side and picked up the little girl. Both of them were wearing green hair. I'm sorry, sir. My sister didn't understand what was going on and bumped into you. I'm so sorry. Monet hugged his sister and lowered his head, not daring to look at the person in front of him. He only asked this adult to let his sister go. In the past few days, there have been friends being taken away by pirates or slave traders. My sister didn't know what happened. She was just angry at the pirates and slave traders, but she knew it clearly. Lin Chen's pupils flickered under his mask, and before he could say anything, a burst of laughter came from behind him. Ha 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 ha, these are two good goods again. We can sell them for a lot of money if we bring them back. The man walked up to Lin Chen and patted him on the shoulder. Brother, if you don't mind, how about you give them to me? I promise to pay you a satisfactory price. As a slave trader, Iska could still see that Lin Chen was special, so he was unwilling to offend him. How much do you plan to pay? Lin Chen turned to look at Iska with a subtle expression. Iska stretched out 2 fingers and said, 2 of them are packaged together for 20 million berries. This price is not cheap. Monet was shaking as she held the sugar. She never thought that she and her sister would be treated as slaves and talk about the price at will. Sounds like a good price, so go ahead and pay it. Iska was overjoyed when he heard this. While holding the money, he called on his men to tie up Monet and sugar and take them away. Monet's face turned pale, and tears slowly flowed down his face while holding sugar in his arms. Arriving in front of Lin Chen, Iska was happily handing the money to Lin Chen when he noticed a pain in his chest. Lin Chen stretched out a branch from his hand and instantly pierced Iska's chest. You old man. Lin Chen looked indifferent, and the branches sucked Iska into being dry, and he penetrated all the human traffickers around him with unabated force. A small and sturdy tree grows in the middle of the street. The people observing in the dark all around retreated. They couldn't afford to offend this masked guy. Looking at Monet who was standing there in front of him at a loss, Lin Chen asked. Where is your family? Sniffling, Monet replied. Died. After touching the heads of Monet and Sugar, Lin Chen turned to look at the people who had been watching the show. Let's stay at their home for the time being. A few people don't care that much, it's the same everywhere. Lin Chen looked at Monet and pretended to be fierce. Lead the way. Monet suppressed the fear in his heart, tears began to well up in his eyes again, and he reluctantly moved home step by step. Lin Chen didn't urge him along the way, he just killed all the pirates and slave traders within the range of his perception. As soon as he became aware of the situation, he directly solved it with a dust escaper, and also collected a lot of scattered flesh and blood tissue. After arriving at Monet's house, Lin Chen found an excuse and left after confirming that the surrounding area was safe. He came to an inconspicuous alley and caught a few pirates at random, and Lin Chen also took them to an uninhabited land. While the auction hasn't started yet, there are many pirates in Sika country. Lin Chen plans to practice with them and gain experience in reanimation jutsu first. Chapter 17 revealed to the world. There is only one day left until the auction. Unlike the previous chaos in Sika country, the pirates and slave traders on the island are now frightened. In the past 10 days, a demon wearing a mask and a black-red cloud robe has appeared on the island and has been hunting them. Finally, someone couldn't stand it anymore and gathered more than a dozen pirate groups to surround him, but none of them were left alive. All I know is that after that battle, the small tree in the middle of the street had turned into a big tree more than 10 meters high. Early the next morning, Lin Chen slowly opened his confused eyes under the help of Granu Sugar. He threw away all the pebbles and branches that the sugar had placed on his mask, and his eyes were empty for a while before he slowly regained consciousness. Madara-sama still smells of blood. Monet came over with breakfast and took the sugar away. I can't help it. They've been busy lately. It wasn't until the auction was about to start that they felt a little calmer. I heard that those legendary pirates are coming too, is it true? Lin Chen scratched his head, it seemed that he had really seen a lot of acquaintances recently. Of course, there are many more. This auction is quite grand. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Monet felt a little longing. I wonder what items are included in the auctions that these big shots are participating in. Lin Chen asked while eating breakfast after hearing Monet's words. Do you want to go? I can take you to see it. Monet was shocked. Although he knew Lin Chen was extraordinary, he didn't know much about him. As Madara-sama so powerful? You are qualified to participate in the auction. Then he joked to Lin Chen. I wonder who is more powerful compared to Madara-sama and those legendary pirates. Lin Chen shrugged. Today you go with us, Sugar, to see the world. I don't feel comfortable with you two staying at home, so just treat it as room and board expenses for these 10 days. Although I'm not that powerful, I can play it's more than enough to fight a few pirates. After hearing this, Monet looked happy and felt grateful to Lin Chen. Since Lin Chen moved into his home, the surrounding environment has become very safe, and the food is also delivered by another uncle who looks like he has a fierce look on his face. From being afraid of Lin Chen and others at the beginning to now being full of trust in them, both Monet and Sugar knew that Lin Chen and others were protecting them. After leaving the door, Lin Chen scanned around and found that Brother Ming was a little confused. Where's that guy? Crocodile smiled softly. Maybe you ran away because you were afraid of what would happen next. Lin Chen shook his head. He wouldn't do anything to him, so why were he so afraid? He had promised to take him back to Mariejois. Taking Monet and Sugar with him, Lin Chen turned to look at Crocodile and Enel. His words were a little cold. Let's go. It's time to let the world see the existence of Dawn. Arriving at the center of the island, a huge auction house has been built. Countless pirates, businessmen, and some people with hidden identities flocked to the auction house. After scanning around, Lin Chen headed in one direction. Brother Ming, why are you here so early? Why don't you wait for us? Doflamingo chuckled. Madara-sama, I'm just here to get a good spot for us at dawn. The rest of the people have almost arrived, and we're the only ones missing. Lin Chen and Crocodile looked at each other and smiled after hearing Brother Ming's words. Patting Doflamingo on the shoulder, Lin Chen shook his head. Don't use this kind of trick in the future, otherwise I will really think of you as one of those useless Tianlong pigs. Do you really think that we are hiding at dawn because we don't want to be discovered? Today I will show you how dawn stands on top of the world. After saying that, Lin Chen stepped into the auction house without hesitation, followed closely by Crocodile and Enel without any fear. Monet followed Lin Chen closely with Sugar in her arms. She felt that something big would happen today, something that would shock the world. Doflamingo's smiling face became more and more distorted as he gritted his teeth and uttered one word. Madara. Doflamingo thought that his plan was perfect and that no matter how bad it was, Lin Chen would feel hindered, but he didn't expect that he didn't care at all whether Li Xiao would be exposed to the world. He started to spread the news, letting everyone in the underground world notice the emerging organization Dawn, in order to make Lin Chen's wish to hide in vain. But I didn't expect that Lin Chen had no worries in this regard. If Lin Chen's strength had not improved at the beginning, he would not dare to be exposed to the eyes of the world government and marine. But now that he is a real emperor, even Crocodile and Enel have become much stronger under his daily training, so there is no need for Daybreak to hide all the time. When he walked into the auction house with a few people, the same clothes immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Is that the Dawn that has been making a lot of noise recently? And Crocodile, isn't he a Shichibukai? Why did he join this organization again? I just don't know what their relationship is with the world government and the celestial dragons. Are you an idiot? Those stories are made up at first glance. Why are you hiding if you are so powerful? You didn't come in like this until you were exposed by the Joker. Otherwise, I would probably hide my identity and attend the auction like those people. As he spoke, he pointed to a group of men in black robes in the corner of the auction. The man in black robe is none other than the senior Marine officer who hides his identity. Everyone in Marine also noticed the group of people entering the auction house, but they only glanced at them and paid no attention to them. The focus of this mission was still devil fruit and the encirclement and suppression of pirates. Since this force is not seen on the pirate list, there is no need to pay attention to it. When Lin Chen came in, he didn't notice the people in the corner. At this time, he looked at the first row, and then strode over, not caring about the three disasters, the three desert generals, and Whitebeard who were in the same row with him. Marco and Diamond Josie are here from the pirate group this time. People around looked at this scene and exclaimed in surprise. You must know that although there are no clear seats in the auction house, everyone has a tacit understanding to sit according to their strength. As Daybreak an organization that can stand alongside the pirate emperor. How is that possible? They must have gone there because they wanted to be in the limelight. Then you will see how they were kicked out. What surprised everyone was that the other three forces had no intention of driving Lin Chen away. They just glanced at him and ignored him. Monet was sitting next to Lin Chen with sugar in her arms. Her mind was still shutting down. She didn't expect that they were the same figures as these legendary pirates. As the lights in the auction house fell into darkness, the auction conference officially began. The organizer behind the scenes was none other than the Don Quixote family, Chapter 18 Bureau. Lao Sha, are all those people here? Lin Chen turned to look at Crocodile, his eyes under the mask exuding a dangerous light. Don't worry. This time, not only everyone in the entire underground world, but 90% of the people are here. As the eyes and ears of the world government, how could they not come? Crocodile smoked a cigar, his face full of confidence. Enel looked at the two of them playing riddles and was a little confused. He was a little bored and could only stare at the three disasters sitting next to him, which made the three of them feel uncomfortable. Lin Chen looked at the Don Quixote family who were holding the opening ceremony, and a hint of ridicule appeared on his lips. If Doflamingo's operation is on the second level, then he is on the fifth level. He wanted to use this auction to make him feel disgusted, but he didn't know that he was already being manipulated by Lin Chen and Crocodile. While Doflamingo spread various news to attract people to come, Crocodile was not idle either. He also released news to muddy the waters. In the end, there was an auction that attracted almost the entire underground world. Doflamingo thought the auction was out of control. In fact, it was all planned by Lin Chen and Crocodile. Of course, Marine was not part of their plan. Taking advantage of this auction, Lin Chen was able to beat Doflamingo and tell him to stop making small moves. Secondly, there are many valuable things in this auction, but Lin Chen's system has not absorbed anything for a while. Lin Chen also spent some time gathering these things. Thirdly, snow fruit can also be successfully obtained in this auction. No matter who takes it from the auction, Lin Chen will definitely snatch him away, so that the three masters of Logia under him will be fully equipped. The last point is that Lin Chen had already made a plan when he left Windmill village. If he wanted to overthrow the world government and celestial dragons, he would not kill them stupidly. His target had already set his sights on CP9, as the leader of the world government. Eyes and ears, destroying CP9 is equivalent to blinding the eyes of the world government and deafening the ears of the world government. This auction was held with great fanfare, and world government would definitely not miss this opportunity. This meant that there were already many CP9 members in this auction. If you want to destroy a person, first blind him, then destroy his hearing, and finally cut off his limbs. This is Lin Chen's plan. The host's voice on the stage brought Lin Chen back to reality, and the auction of the first devil fruit began. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I won't say any more nonsense. Now let's start the auction of the first devil fruit. Zone pig fruit, porcupine form. As an extremely powerful zone fruit, after use, it will have the fighting power of a porcupine. The starting price is 50 million berry. Lin Chen had no interest in this kind of fruit at all. Basically, the people in the first three rows had no bids. At first glance, this kind of fruit was prepared for the weaker pirate groups. As for the men in black robes at the end, Lin Chen probably just came to join in the fun. As long as Lousy buys one devil fruit, he will definitely dominate the grand line. 60 million. Ha 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 ha. Don't come out and embarrass yourself. Lousy offers 61 million. A bunch of rubbish. Lousy 61.5 million. It has to be said that the chain of contempt among pirates at the bottom is quite serious, and the hierarchy is very strict. The gap of 500,000 is already two different classes. Hearing the noisy sound on the field, Lin Chen scratched his ears, and finally the fruit was raised to 120 million berry. Is there no one here? Then this fruit belongs to me, ha 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 ha. A pirate sitting in the fifth row laughed, as if he could already see himself dominating the world. 20 million. The man in black robes in the last row suddenly spoke, which made everyone present look askance. When did a porcupine fruit become so popular? Dalmatian, under the black robe, didn't take it seriously. Anyway, he wasn't prepared to spend money, so he could quote whatever price he wanted. Lin Chen turned his head and glanced at the back row. He could only see men in black robes and curled his lips. They can't be people like us. Why are there so many robbers these days? How can ordinary people like us survive? With that said, Lin Chen also started to quote, 1 billion. Anyone who dares to rob Laozi will kill him on the spot. Everyone in the audience was stunned when they heard Lin Chen's words. Is this guy so arrogant? Isn't he afraid of making people angry and being beaten? The man in black robe in the back row obviously did not expect that Lin Chen would join. Dalmatian turned his head and looked at the people around him. Several people shook their heads to indicate that there was no need to increase the price, and they would get it back in the end anyway. As for the pirate in the fifth row, he was about to auction off the fruit, but Lin Chen intercepted him halfway, and the price was still such an outrageous 1 billion berry that he was very angry on the spot. You guys are here to cause trouble. How can a broken zone fruit be worth 1 billion berries? Do you have that much money? You are just slapping someone in the face and pretending to be fat. Sand-bound coffin. The man wanted to continue scolding, but his whole body was tightly restrained by the sand, and then bright red blood flowed out of the sand. The other pirates in the back row looked panicked at Crocodile's attack and no longer dared to say anything. In this way, the fruit was successfully photographed into Lin Chen's hands, and he just waited for the money and delivery at the end. The people in the first 3 rows looked at Lin Chen and the others with solemn eyes. It seemed that they had met like-minded opponents. The host on the stage swallowed his saliva. He knew that this guy was the leader of the organization that his young master joined, and he didn't know what these people were planning. But none of this is his business, and he can only silently feel sad for the seller in his heart. This auction is just a toy for powerful people. Without the guarantee of a fair and impartial party, any underground transaction cannot guarantee safety, especially this auction. The second one. The ancient species of zone, in the form of a triceratops. The starting price is 100 million berry. Hearing that the second one was of such good quality, Lin Chen couldn't help but feel a little interested in the upcoming auction. Jin looked at the fruits on the field and licked his lips. 110 million berry. I advise you to think clearly about what it means to compete with us. As he spoke, he glanced at Lin Chen and the others, and the meaning was self-evident. After hearing Jin's words, the others turned pale and could only remain silent. They all turned their attention to Lin Chen, ready to see if this person would still fight for it. 1 billion berry. There is no doubt that Lin Chen made a bid. It was only 3 disasters and he was defeated. Kaido is not here, so he is afraid of a hammer. Chapter 19 The Shit Stirrer. Advertise here. You guy, are you looking for death? Jack looked at Lin Chen with some anger. The task assigned by his boss was about to be completed when Lin Chen suddenly appeared in the middle. How could one not be angry? Jack, don't be impulsive. Jin glanced at Lin Chen and signaled Jack not to argue with him. This guy's purpose from the beginning was already very obvious. He wanted to eat all the devil fruit by himself. The discerning pirates in the first 3 rows can all see that, but they are just trying to kill the first bird, and they want to see if Lin Chen can eat it. If only Doflamingo and Crocodile dare to do this, they will definitely make Lin Chen pay a heavy price when the auction is over. Seeing that no one was trying to compete with him, Lin Chen nodded with satisfaction. This is how the protagonist should be treated. As soon as he made a move, everyone in the audience surrendered. The third one. 1 billion. The fourth. 1 billion. In this way, every time a devil fruit appeared, Lin Chen opened his mouth to get 1 billion. Everyone present had gone from being angry at the beginning to looking at Lin Chen and others with ridicule. A newly born organization dares to offend the entire underground world, let alone those sea emperors. I wonder who gave him the courage. Due to some uncontrollable factors, the op fruit that was originally auctioned second to last cannot continue to be auctioned, so we started to auction the last devil fruit. That is, Logia devil fruit. Snow fruit. The value of Logia is self-evident. Marine 3 Admiral. And Crocodile, a member of the emerging organization Dawn. These are all world-famous strong men. As long as you get the Logia devil fruit, you have already stepped into the strong ranks. World. So why are you still hesitating? This kind of fruit is rare to see at auction for 100 years. The starting price is 1 billion berry. Snow fruit attracted everyone's envy as soon as it appeared. As the host said, once you get the Logia fruit, you have already stepped into the realm of the strong. After hearing the host's words, Lin Chen couldn't help but think of a person, Smoker. The more he compared it, the more Lin Chen realized that this friend seemed a bit. Putting aside the complaints about his friend, Lin Chen's eyes lit up when he looked at the Logia fruit in front of him. If nothing unexpected happened, something would happen soon. After all, his previous actions have made everyone angry, and with this last fruit, I am afraid these people will not let him do whatever he wants. After thinking about it, Lin Chen raised his hand and made a bid. 5 billion berry. Who dares to steal it from me and challenge me 1v1? When they heard that Lin Chen would not change his ways, everyone was not used to him. XXX. IXXXUXXX. You have been disrupting the order of the auction for me since the beginning. Do you really think we are afraid of you? 4x. This guy's total quote is almost 30 billion. Don't be afraid, this guy definitely doesn't have that much money. Nima 4x. You are all well-known figures in the underground world. Are you going to let this new organization do whatever it wants? Where can we put our faces? IXXX his whole family XXX. Since he has already broken his skin, we don't need to hide it. Lousy will offer 10 billion berry. QNMD, lousy 50 billion berry. Get out of the way, lousy. 1 trillion, lousy. Lin Chen turned his head and glanced at the pirates and people in the underground world behind him. When he heard the curse, his temper broke out on the spot. What are you barking at? What are you barking at? Do you still have any shame? I'm going to say this today. If anyone asks me for face, I'll tear his face off. The forces in the underground world should have been cleaned up a long time ago. I really thought we were vegetarians at dawn. Lousy Wen has the Don Quixote family patriarch Doflamingo and Sand Fruit ability user Crocodile, and Wu has this Thunder Fruit ability user Enel. A bunch of trash dare to follow, Lousy screamed. If you want to kill me, get through them first. As he said this, he hid behind the two of them, and the others instantly became furious. Little bastard, go out with me for a duel. It seems like he's just a loser hiding behind others. After talking for so long, it turns out that he is a useless little piece of trash. While everyone was still angry, Sanbon stood up suddenly. Everyone, it seems that we have no chance at this auction, so we will leave now. After saying this, he also said goodbye to several other forces in the same row. Before leaving, Jin looked at Lin Chen with a mocking look. You're just a clown, let's see how you end up later. As the three disasters left, the other two parties suddenly realized something. Marco and Josie also stood up to say goodbye and left at the same time. Before leaving, Marco glanced at Lin Chen with lingering thoughts. This guy is quite funny. If he could be his father's son in the Whitebeard Pirates, he would definitely be able to make his father laugh every day. The three desert generals didn't feel too bad. The main task of coming this time was to discuss marriage with the Vinsmoke family. Devil Fruit and the others didn't pay much attention to it. Of course, this does not mean that they will withdraw from the competition. It depends on who is more capable. As the three forces in the first row left the scene, people in the following rows also realized something. Oops, they're going to attack first. If you follow me quickly, you can still have a sip of hot soup. Brothers, stop acting, they are all people with the same thoughts. Come on, grab the devil fruit. In an instant, the entire hall exploded into pieces. Of course, everyone had a tacit understanding and did not compete for the Logia fruit on the field. This thing is now a time bomb. No one will easily compete for it until the final winner is decided. After all, no one is a fool. No one thinks that someone will snatch the Logia fruit immediately. That is not to light a lamp in a manhole and look for shit. So everyone left their eyes and ears behind and rushed to the warehouse at the back, grabbing the small things first, and finally seeing how the snow fruit was distributed. The men in black robes in the back row looked at each other and left one after another. 4 of them were the senior generals who participated in the combat meeting that day: Dalmatian, Huo Shaoshan, Flying Squirrel, and Stallo Berry. Dalmatian took out his phone and contacted Crane. The situation seems to be a little out of control, but it doesn't seem to have much impact on our layout. Now we can let Marine surround Sika country. Hearing Dalmatian's report, Crane nodded. I know, please pay attention to your safety there. We will come immediately to support you. Turning to look at Doberman, Ghost Spider, Zephyr, Gion and Cake, Kakuya issued the final battle plan. Act according to the plan. Destroy the ships in the port first to cut off their escape route. If there are no accidents, Akainu and Garp have already led people to surround the auction house. Set off now. Remember that the first task is to snatch the devil fruit. Wait until they are almost done, immediately carry out the plan to exterminate the pirates. Yes. Chapter 20 Wood Style. Whatever you shout, come on. Seeing the many forces in the hall rushing towards the warehouse at the back, a slight smile flashed across Lin Chen's lips. All this is within his calculation. If the auction is really like a normal auction, then he really won't be able to fish in troubled waters. Therefore, it is more conducive to oneself to act as a spoiler and disrupt the entire auction. Of course, Lin Chen is not worried that someone will attack him now. Although he has auctioned off all the fruits, none of them are in his hands. Naturally, everyone will ignore him. The key is to grab the devil fruit. Lin Chen said as he turned to look at Enel. Have you felt those CP9 people in your heart network? Enel nodded. Although they are very hidden, they are invisible under my mental network. I can almost confirm it through their conversations. Hearing this, Lin Chen chuckled lightly, with a sharp look in his eyes. Enel, go and clean up these trash first. Don't let any of them go. Don't be reluctant to fight when you encounter a strong enemy. If you have thunder fruit, you can run away if you can't defeat it. We will deal with them when the time comes. Don't forget the development moves I taught you. Quote. Enel nodded, and his whole body turned into lightning and disappeared. Monet held Sutang in his arms and looked at Lin Chen, who was a bit unfamiliar, and pursed his lips. I didn't expect that the sunny boy in front of me also had such a cruel and vicious side. Looking at the empty hall, the ears and eyes left by all the forces looked at each other warily. Only the precious snow fruit was left on the stage, but no one dared to take it. Lin Chen walked up to the stage without hesitation and easily took the fruit. Looking at the fruit in his hand, Lin Chen chuckled. It's amazing how easy it was to get it. Lin Chen glanced at the shocked people in the hall and showed a hint of ridicule. I really thought I was afraid of being attacked, but Lousy didn't play by the rules. Let's see what you rookies can do to me. After saying that, he led a few people and left the hall immediately, leaving the rest of the people staring with big eyes. After a while, they dispersed like birds and beasts and left to report to their boss. The Logia fruit was taken away by the masked man. Lin Chen and Crocodile parted ways after leaving the auction house, and before leaving, he quietly handed the snow fruit to Crocodile. In this way, the safety of snow fruit can be guaranteed to a certain extent. After all, the people before were watching Lin Chen take the snow fruit. Lao Sha, go help Enel. Keep an eye on Doflamingo at the same time. I seem to have sensed not only pirates, but also people from the underground world and the world government. When it was over, I seem to have found traces of Marine. Thinking of Sengoku and his terrifying strategy, Lin Chen's eyes became serious. If it's true as I think, I'm afraid all of us have fallen into Marine's trap. Crocodile nodded. As Lin Chen said, it is estimated that most of the pirates in the auction house would not be able to leave. Lin Chen quietly returned to his residence with Monet and Sugar. Of course, Lin Chen was not just hanging out. In the past few days, Monet's home had been built into a safe residence. Lin Chen didn't want the fighting on the island to affect these civilians who already had a bad life. This auction started because of me, and I will take responsibility for it. After a wood clone was separated and brought in with Monet and the surrounding ordinary people, Yamanaka had Lin Chen's clone, so the safety of these people could be guaranteed. Lin Chen can't protect everyone, there's only so much he can do. Bang, bang, bang. The auction house in the distance collapsed, and many forces were already fighting together. The Sharingan in his eyes slowly turned, and after thinking for a while, Lin Chen did not release Susano. The appearance of the Dawn organization in the world does not mean that he, Lin Chen, will appear in the world. His Susano is too eye-catching. If he were really released here, it would be like telling Marine and the five elders that he was still alive, and then Dawn's situation would be dangerous. After all, his current plan is just to clean up the underground world and cut off the eyes and ears of the world government. It's not time to start a real war yet. Besides, this battle is not a good opportunity to improve your wood-style experience. Practical combat is the fastest way to improve your strength. Seeing the lightning flashing in the distance and a huge thunder god appearing, it was Enel's move. Lin Chen rushed to the auction house without hesitation. Boss, how dare he come back? He just ignored all of us and took away the snow fruit. That's right. This Enel is too fast. The fruit isn't on him anyway. At this time, the entire auction house had turned into a ruin. While cleaning CP9, Enel was suddenly besieged by countless pirates, who were determined to find out Lin Chen's whereabouts. Enel knew that he was no match for so many pirates, so he could only rely on speed and flexibility to dodge, and finally survived until Lin Chen arrived. Well done, little Enel. Patting Enel's shoulder, Lin Chen was a little confused. He knew this would happen and had already asked Crocodile to help Enel. Why didn't he see anyone? After asking Enel, Enel said that he had never seen Crocodile at all. That guy is so oily that nothing will happen to him. As long as Admiral doesn't show his strength, no one can restrain him. Putting aside the doubts in his heart, Lin Chen looked at the many pirates on the field and didn't pay attention at all. These are probably guys who just failed to grab those fruits and want to try their luck in grabbing them. These people are just cannon fodder and pawns. Those who really grabbed the fruits had the strength of observer Lin Chen hidden in the dark. He could retreat immediately if something went wrong. Of course, there was a trace of luck. What if Lin Chen couldn't defeat these people and happened to grab the snow fruit? What if? After asking Enel to step back, Lin Chen looked a little bored at the group of soldiers in front of him. Come here together. I remember you were the ones who screamed the loudest at the beginning. Do you really think I'm a softie and anyone can pinch me? Lousy will challenge you all. Let's come together. Shrugging, Lin Chen's words were filled with disdain. This attitude made everyone furious, and they immediately rushed forward. You bitch. How dare you pretend to be like this? Your 3 civil and military generals have all been defeated by us, and you still dare to pretend. What nonsense. Kill him first. Then we'll see how the snow fruit is distributed. I think this is a good idea. Come on, brothers. Seeing many enemies rushing towards him, Lin Chen's eyes turned cold, and he would not be so kind to his enemies. He shouted loudly and clapped his hands. Lin Chen didn't care, he just shouted whatever he wanted. Wood style. The tree world is coming. He raised his hand to show respect, but Lin Chen was too lazy to talk nonsense to this group of bastards. The ground continued to roll, and countless trees broke out of the ground in an instant. The previously high-spirited pirates and people in the underground world all looked shocked. Lin Chen's move completely changed the terrain of this area. Chapter 21 Sage Art. Wood Style. True several thousand hands. Advertise here. Countless trees were tumbling underneath, and these trees seemed to be actively attacking the enemies around them consciously. In just a moment, everyone who had been clamoring just now was sucked into human bodies. The crumbling auction house also collapsed under Lin Chen's move. The surrounding environment was affected by Lin Chen's move, and many forces hidden in the dark appeared one after another. Jin looked at Lin Chen in the field with serious eyes. This guy is far stronger than us. Hearing Jin's words, Jack and Quinn looked shocked. They didn't expect Lin Chen, who was like a clown before, to be so powerful. Thinking of Lin Chen's behavior at the auction, people around him were silently complaining. Did he really have no shame at all? Holding the zone ancient seed fruit in his arms, Jin felt that this operation was almost completed. In addition to grabbing this ancient seed, there were also many fruits that were also collected by the three of them. As for the Logia devil fruit, Jin's eyes flashed as he looked at Lin Chen in the field. With so many people coveting the fruit in the field, could he handle it alone? Turning to look at the people around him, Jin licked his lips. The Logia devil fruit is on him. Don't be confused by his appearance. Kill him and we will discuss how to distribute the snow fruit. The rest of the people stared at Lin Chen with unkind expressions after hearing this. Their desire for snow fruit outweighed their fear of Lin Chen. Anyway, there were many of them. If Lin Chen wanted to take away snow fruit, he had to wait and see if he could. Don't have that strength. Seeing that these guys no longer concealed themselves, Lin Chen's words were full of disdain. A bunch of losers also want to dance. Wood style. Wooden golem jutsu. Wood style. Wood dragon technique. Summoning a huge wooden golem with several wooden dragons wrapped around him, Lin Chen looked particularly terrifying at this time. Everyone around was shocked when they saw this scene. Could it be demon fruit power? How are we supposed to fight against such a huge wooden golem? Manipulating the somewhat unfamiliar wood style, a large amount of chakra from Lin Chen's body poured into the wooden golem. At the same time, the wooden golem rushed towards the enemy and bit it. With the environment created by the arrival of the tree world, Lin Chen, who had the home field advantage, quickly gained the upper hand. Seeing the people on the ground being chased by him, Lin Chen quickly killed all these birds, and their corpses were hung on the southeastern branches, swaying in the wind. Seeing that there were only 3 disasters left, the 3 desert generals, Marco, Josie, and some people from the CP9 organization, Lin Chen decided to take action without hesitation. Lin Chen wants to take back the fruits that these people just snatched from the warehouse one by one, leaving no one behind. Standing on the wooden golem, Lin Chen's face was covered with black stripes at some point. After feeling this strange power, Lin Chen understood in his heart and took the lead in attacking a few people. After turning on Sage mode, several wooden dragons tentatively rushed toward each other, but they were easily dodged by them. Seeing this, Lin Chen also first eradicated all the remnants of the CP9. So far, almost all the people from the CP9 organization who came to participate in the auction were wiped out. Under Lin Chen's absolute suppressive power, no one could escape this disaster. At most, there might only be 3 or 2 big cats and kittens that escaped from the previous battle with Enel. But if Enel hadn't had an accident, it could be said that the CP9 organization would have been eradicated without a doubt this time. Turning to look at the others, Lin Chen knew that the highlight was next. Hand over the devil fruit or die. The 3 parties looked at each other and knew that this matter could not be solved, so they joined forces one after another. Marco. Don't take yourself too seriously, sir. You will pay the price for underestimating us. Looking at the pineapple head in front of him, Lin Chen looked a little solemn. He still knew the rumors that Xiaoma only played high-end games. As for the others, the only ones worth noting are Katakuri and his old rival Jin. But now that Lin Chen has emperor-level strength, he won't be too afraid of them. Jin glanced at the people around him and saw that no one took the lead and couldn't help but cursed secretly, but after all, he wanted to take the initiative to fight Lin Chen, so he had no choice but to set an example. Transforming into a pterosaur form and rushing into the sky, Jin launched a fire attack without hesitation. Since the guy in front of him was so good at manipulating wood, he would use fire to restrain it. Lin Chen looked at the flying fireball and sneered, "You are too naive." Armament hockey covered wooden golem's body, and just stretched out his hand to squeeze it, and a small fireball was crushed in wooden golem's hands without any waves. Dust escape. Original realm stripping technique. Standing on the wooden golem, Lin Chen naturally would not be beaten stupidly. He launched a counterattack without hesitation, and his first move was a killer move. Kankan turned around to avoid the terrifying power of the light beam, and Jin looked at the people around him angrily. Why are you still hanging around? Come on together. Seeing this, the people around him sighed deeply, waiting to detect more of Lin Chen's strength. Unexpectedly, Jin only persisted for such a short while. It was not very good. It seemed that he was just a thin dog. Although they were mocking Jin in their hearts, everyone had serious expressions on their faces. After all, Lin Chen brought them tremendous pressure. Katakori's eyes in the distance glowed red, and a wave of conqueror's haki suddenly hit Lin Chen. Lin Chen, who was standing on the wooden golem, shook his head. He felt a little dizzy from the sudden impact on the back of his head. But Lin Chen returned to his original state in an instant, and the same conqueror's haki erupted from his body. The two's haki collided in the air. After a few seconds, Katakori's momentum suddenly weakened. In these few seconds, the rest of the attack had arrived. Marco turned into a phoenix and kicked Lin Chen sharply, the sharp claws on his feet shining with sharp luster. At the same time, Josie, Jack, Quinn, Smoothie, and Cracker all rushed towards Lin Chen's wooden golem with Marco's offensive. Manipulating the wooden dragon next to the wooden golem to block Marco's kick, Lin Chen easily jumped into the sky and abandoned the wooden golem on the ground. Standing in the air, Lin Chen looked down at everyone, his pupils shrank as he glanced around. Looking from a distance, bursts of fire appeared in the port, and countless marine warships were heading towards the port crazily. In an instant, Lin Chen made a decision. He must snatch the devil fruit from these people. Otherwise, my trip was in vain. Even Lao Sha didn't know where he had gone, and he still had to find him. This battle must be fought quickly, and he must retreat immediately after grabbing the fruit. Thinking of this, Lin Chen did not hesitate, clapped his hands and shouted loudly. Sage art. Wood style. True several thousand hands. A huge Guanyin statue with hundreds of hands rose from the ground. Standing above the statue, Lin Chen's mouth twitched. It's not that I don't summon true several thousand hands, it's because the levels of wood style secret technique and sage mode are not enough. Just summoning Shinsu 100 hands has done my best. Looking at the person below who was so shocked that he was completely speechless, Lin Chen looked cold. Let's fight quickly. Chapter 22. Transforming into a Buddha on the top. Advertise here. Looking at the huge wooden golem Guanyin statue in front of them, the three disasters, Marco, Josie, and the three desert stars all felt a sense of powerlessness in their hearts. The pressure this strength brings to them is like Whitebeard, Kaido, and Lin in New World, which makes people feel suffocating. Ha! Wood style. Transform into a Buddha on top. Lin Chen clasped his hands together and controlled 100 arms covered in armed colors to hit everyone. The face under the mask was very distorted and the style of the painting was somewhat broken. Seeing the numerous huge fists coming at them, the people below did not dare to be careless and used their best moves to resist. A mortal thistle. Marco's body erupted with blue flames, and he used it to create a circular shield for defense, while Josie's body turned into diamonds. Jack, Quinn transformed into a beast form and was full of weapons. Jin tried to fly high into the sky to avoid but found that the entire airspace had been covered by Lin Chen's fist. The others also used their most powerful moves to resist. However, under Lin Chen's move, everyone was severely injured. Except for Marco, Josie, Jin and Katakori, everyone else fell into coma under this blow. Lin Chen dispersed wood style, panting slightly, looking helplessly at the four people who were still standing strong in front of him. A powerful sense of knowledge spread out, and Lin Chen sensed several familiar people. His brows furrowed slightly, the pupils of his eyes suddenly exploded, and the time and space where these people were located was frozen. Marco and the others had already spent too much energy resisting Lin Chen's transformation on top of the Buddha. At this moment, their bodies could not move, and their hearts were filled with shock and fear. Lin Chen first came to the unconscious people, took away all the devil fruit from them, and then came to the people affected by his eye skills. Looking at the few people standing still, whether to kill or not to kill is a question worth pondering. If you want to kill now, you have to kill everyone. Wouldn't it be perfect to put the blame on Marine's head then? After thinking about it, Lin Chen gave up the plan. If he really wanted to kill them and then accuse Marine, there would be too many loopholes and doubts. And he has basically achieved his goal. After taking away the devil fruit from these people, he can then find Lao Sha and retreat, so there is no need to do anything more. Then Lin Chen no longer hesitated and reached into Brother Ma's chest. After a while, he took out a few devil fruits, and then used the same operation to take out the fruits of the other people, and they were absorbed by the system. Make points. Including the fruits in the hands of the group of people who were instantly killed by him, the total adds up to nearly 20, providing Lin Chen with a full 200,000 points. Thinking that there were more fruits in the auction, Lin Chen estimated that some people immediately retreated after grabbing the fruits. Although greedy people accounted for the majority, there were also a few smart people. Although it all seemed like a long time, it actually only took a few seconds. Feeling that the aura in the distance was getting closer and closer, Lin Chen took Enel and left here immediately without hesitation. As Lin Chen left, the pupil technique was also lifted, and several people collapsed on the ground with cold sweat on their faces. At that moment, they all thought they would be killed by Lin Chen, but they didn't expect him to let them go so easily. Before they could recover from the joy of surviving, they heard a gust of wind coming from afar. Then a large number of Marines arrived. What the hell is going on here? It's a pirate from New World. Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates. Josie. Jin of the Kaido pirates. Aren't those Jack and Quinn lying in the distance? And Katakuri from the Big Mom pirates. The two lying on the ground must be the other two desert generals. Seeing many Marines surrounding him and others, Marco and the others looked a little strange. They vaguely sensed a conspiracy. As soon as Lin Chen left, Marine rushed over. They felt that the auction was just a cover and there must be a huge conspiracy. Now that their devil fruit has been snatched away by Lin Chen, and they will face Marine's roundup, at this moment they feel that there must be some relationship between Daybreak Organization and Marine. Marco breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the Marine generals leading them. Doberman, Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan, and Stallo Berry. If there were only these 5 people, they would be able to break through with just a little attention. The 5 people who arrived were extremely shocked when they saw the surrounding environment. They could see a huge battle taking place here on the road. Especially the huge wooden Buddha brought heavy pressure to several people, and Zephyr brought Gion cake to meet Garp Akainu, which made several people feel unsure. But when a few people arrived here, they found that the previous giant Buddha had disappeared, and only Marco and the others were standing there with injuries all over their bodies. All this made them confused, but now was not the time to wonder. Seeing the numerous corpses of pirates on the field and the last of these pirates, several people attacked without hesitation. Now is a good opportunity to capture these people. As the 5 people rushed towards Marco and the others, the battle broke out again on the battlefield. On the other side, Lin Chen took Enel to search for traces of crocodile. At this time, he began to feel anxious. Lao Sha has always been relatively stable, but now that he has not returned, it means he is in trouble. Who is it? Could it be Doflamingo? Or the Revolutionary Army? Marine? Lin Chen didn't know all this and turned to look at Enel. Open your heart network to the maximum. Be sure to feel Lao Sha. He may be in trouble. While Lin Chen was flying around with Enel, he asked Enel to spread the net to look for crocodile. Finally, Enel opened his eyes and pointed into the distance. There's a very faint smell. It's Mr. Crocodile. Looking at the distance Enel pointed to, Lin Chen rushed there with him without hesitation. As he approached there, Lin Chen felt a heat wave from a distance. Crocodile. Last warning. Hand over the snow fruit. Ha ha ha, I also advise you to obediently hand over the fruit to me. Otherwise, my iron fist will not be vegetarian. Crocodile looked miserable at this time, with burn marks all over his body and a lot of blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. Looking at Akainu and Garp in front of him, Crocodile still chuckled. I don't know what snow fruit is. Why do you have to make so many excuses if you want to kill me? Garp frowned and turned to look at Dalmatian. Are you sure the fruit is on this guy? Dalmatian nodded. He who owned the dog fruit remembered the smell of the snow fruit the moment it was brought to the auction house. He could smell snow fruit on Crocodile's body. After receiving a positive answer, Gion behind Garp walked out with a cold expression, and Cake behind Akainu was not to be outdone. Both of them looked at Crocodile with murderous intent on their faces. Although Marine killing 7 warlords of the sea seemed against the rules, after all, they were fighting for the precious snow fruit, and they accidentally killed him during the snatching process. Marshal Sengoku and the world government will certainly not say anything. Chapter 23 Enemies. Advertise here. Crocodile looked at Akainu in front of him with a bit of disdain, but he was very careful with Garp. After all, Lin Chen also said that except for Garp, everyone in Marine is a bidder. After being brainwashed by Lin Chen for a long time, and with his own strength improving a lot, Crocodile didn't feel that guilty. After he and Lin Chen parted ways, he found a tail following behind him, leading them into an open space. He thought the people under the black robes were pirates, but unexpectedly they turned out to be a group of Marines. At the same time, Garp and Akainu in the Marine also arrived beside him. After taking a look at the Marine in the dog fruit form, Crocodile also roughly understood what was going on. Unexpectedly, the other party tracked him through his scent. Crocodile couldn't help but blame himself for being too careless. But Crocodile thought of Lin Chen's instructions before leaving, and he also knew how important this devil fruit was to Lin Chen. Even though he knew that the other party was coming for devil fruit, he could only pretend not to understand, and a big battle ensued between the two parties. At first, when Akainu and Garp tried to test, the two sides were still fighting back and forth, until the two of them discovered that a huge wooden statue of Guanyin appeared not far away, and they were a little stunned, thinking that a powerful pirate had appeared, so I have no intention of continuing the fight with Crocodile. After the two got serious, Crocodile's pressure increased dramatically. He was beaten black and blue within a short while, but he still refused to hand over the snow fruit. When Zephyr brought Gion and Cake over, Crocodile was already in a huge crisis. Gion pulled out Jinpailao and Jingjae from his waist, his eyebrows slightly raised, and his words were full of coldness. Crocodile, I'm warning you one last time, if you don't hand over the snow fruit, I'll kill you. Cake lost his usual wretched look and had the same solemn expression. Even though Gion was his sweetheart, he had no choice but to go. Since that man's death, there had been many conflicts among Marine's top management. Without strength, he could only be reduced to a pawn. Only by grabbing the snow fruit to increase your strength can you jump out of the chessboard and even become a chess player. Crocodile looked at the two people in front of him with disdainful expressions, and his focus was still on the three Akainu Garp Zephyr who did not take any action. Seeing that these three people had no intention of taking action, Crocodile knew that he had become a training stone for Gion and Cake. Two brats. Don't take yourself too seriously. Even a mere yellow-haired girl dares to talk so boldly. Come on over here. After hearing Crocodile's words, the two stopped talking nonsense, and Gion drew his double sword armament Haki and covered it. Two-sword style. Beast hunting. Looking at the two strange beasts running towards him, Crocodile did not dare to be careless. This marine's swordsmanship had reached a point where he could threaten himself. Just as he was about to avoid the figure that appeared behind him, Crocodile's retreat was instantly blocked. Seeing this, the crocodile sand on Crocodile's shoulders instantly lingered around him, and the quicksand seemed to have its own wisdom to resist the attacks of the two. However, because Crocodile spent too much energy in the previous battle and was seriously injured, his reactions are no longer sensitive in all aspects, but Gion still found a chance. Holding the long knife that Lin Chen once used, a trace of longing flashed in Gion's eyes, but then there was endless coldness. One sword style. Thunder slash. An extremely fast slash struck Crocodile's back in an instant, and even the sand that had been protecting him did not react. Once this blow hit Crocodile, I'm afraid he would have to deal with it today. While the slash was quickly slashing at Crocodile, Kaji was not idle either. He teleported to Crocodile, and while he was focusing on the slash behind him, he punched Crocodile in the abdomen. Crocodile suffered a heavy blow to the abdomen, and his whole body bent. The snow fruit also fell out of his arms. Kaji quickly picked up the fruit and ran away. Looking at Jaji's back, Crocodile felt bitter in his heart, and at the same time, it was too late to dodge the slashes from behind. 4x. What on earth is that Madara guy doing? Didn't he summon the wooden statue just now? Why haven't you come to save me now? If this continues, Lousy will have to send it. Seeing that Crocodile was about to be beheaded, he finally heard the familiar but somewhat unfamiliar voice, but he was a little confused as to why Lin Chen changed his voice so well. Wood style. Wood ingot wall. A circular wood style covered Crocodile's figure and blocked Gion's slashing attack. Lin Chen led Enel towards the battlefield, his eyes flashing red under the mask. Lao Sha, thank you for your hard work. Seeing this, Cake and Gion immediately retreated. This man gave them a huge sense of threat. Even Garp's face looked a little serious. Zephyr, be careful, this guy is very difficult to deal with. Zephyr glanced at Jaji who was holding the snow fruit and frowned. Armament Haki was wrapped around his arms and he looked at Lin Chen coldly. Akainu looked at Lin Chen who was wearing a mask, and a molten arm instantly formed from his empty cuffs. Has the leader behind the Dawn organization finally appeared? Asking Enel and Crocodile to retreat, Lin Chen knew that they had spent too much energy in the previous battle and now they did not have much fighting power. Lin Chen glanced at the system panel. Skills. Impure World Reincarnation LV4, Wood Style Secret Technique LV4, Original Realm Stripping Technique LV4, Sage Mode LV4. Abilities. Taijutsu LV8, Swordsmanship LV8, Illusion LV5, Armament Haki LV8, Observation Haki LV8, Conqueror's Haki LV5, Eternity Mangekyo Hashirama Cell Dust Release. Points. 200,000. I wanted to save up and redeem it for Rinnegan, but seeing today's situation, I'm afraid there will inevitably be a fierce battle. Without Susanoo and various thunder and fire ninjutsu, Lin Chen's combat power will be greatly reduced by relying solely on wood-style ninjutsu and sage mode. It will be very difficult to fight with these people. If you invest all your points in taijutsu and haki, then you can fight if you defeat him. But on the one hand, you have to adapt to your strength. With the huge increase in taijutsu, your combat effectiveness may not increase but decrease. On the other hand, Marine's large army has already surrounding this place, it will only be more difficult to escape once entangled. Then the best way to leave is to use a wide range of moves and leave during the chaos. If he were to fight with Marine on the island now, he would really have a cerebral thrombosis, especially if Garp also arrived, along with Akainu and Zephyr. Even Lin Chen wasn't sure whether he could beat Garp in a 1v1 duel, let alone two people with admiral strength. Two generals fight against the four emperors. Now on the island, Marine's combat power can still defeat four emperors. Lin Chen doesn't think that his strength is as strong as two emperors. Lin Chen's eyes flashed slightly when he thought of this, and he upgraded the wood-style secret technique and sage mode to LV8 without hesitation. If you want to do it big. Upgrade wood style and sage mode to LV8 to be able to fight against the four emperors level powerhouses even without relying on Susanoo. Chapter 24 1v5. The two sides were at war with each other. Garp, Zephyr and Akainu stood in front of Gion and Kaki with solemn expressions. Lin Chen paused for a moment on the Jingjae in Gion's hand and the necklace around his neck, then looked at Akainu's empty cuffs and Garp Zephyr's increasingly older faces. There was no expression on the face under the mask, and only Lin Chen knew what he was thinking. Lao Sha, Enel, you retreat. I will come to the rear. We will meet at Monet's place in the back mountain later. Lin Chen waved his hand and asked the two of them to retreat first. Crocodile looked at Lin Chen worriedly. Madara, how about the snow fruit? If we don't leave, we will. Lin Chen shook his head, knowing that he would encounter many obstacles on the road to overthrowing the celestial dragons. Family and friends who were once extremely close might become his enemies, but he had already been mentally prepared. But if you retreat and run away every time you encounter obstacles, what will you do to achieve your ideal? Lin Chen had dreamed about this scene countless times, and now that he was facing it for real, he would not back down. Stop talking. Leave immediately. Akainu's hands radiated scorching heat. Let's go. Although you are not on the pirate list. But what if you become pirates in the future? Not to mention that if you can mix with Crocodile, your identity will naturally be determined. It's just that you haven't been rewarded yet. In this case, you can all stay. Bar. Lin Chen looked at Akainu with a murderous intent on his face and snorted coldly. Wood style. The world of flowers and trees has arrived. Although the massive increase in ninjutsu levels requires adaptation, it is just a matter of grasping the amount of chakra, and the harm caused will naturally be less than that of taijutsu. The chakra in Lin Chen's body was released for free, instantly creating a large forest with many buds on the branches. Even the trees dare to resist. Akainu's hands turned into lava and rushed into the sky. Meteor volcano. Garp and Zephyr did not stand still. The primary target of this operation, snow fruit, was already in their hands, so they naturally had to carry out the mission of encircling and suppressing the pirates. Seeing the two figures rushing towards him quickly, Lin Chen didn't dare to be careless, and his expression was a little dazed. It seems that this scene also happened many years ago, but I was still young at the time. One dark and windy night, I fed all the donuts of old man Garp to the dog, and then showed off my donuts in front of Smoker and other friends. Record, and mentioned teacher Zephyr by the way. You see, even if it's old man Garp's donuts, I dare to feed them all to the dogs. Sooner or later, I will be the man who punches old man Garp and kicks Mr. Zephyr. Of course, it didn't take long for these words to reach the ears of the two of them. In front of all the Marines, the two of them picked up sticks and belts and gave Lin Chen a complete childhood. Boy, being stunned during a battle is not a good thing. Listening to Zephyr's familiar voice, Lin Chen's face was startled. When did he come to him? Watching Zephyr's dark arm attack him, Lin Chen blocked it with his hands in front of his chest, but was still punched back by Zephyr. Eternal Mangekyo rotates slowly, observation Haki unfolds at the same time, and everything slows down under Lin Chen's perception. He quickly dodged Garp's fist behind him. It would be very uncomfortable for him to receive such a blow. Rounds of black marks appeared on his face, and Lin Chen turned on sage mode. The two of them put a lot of pressure on themselves. Wood style. Cutting technique. Manipulating the trees to attack the two of them, Lin Chen glanced at Cake, who was standing with Gion, with his peripheral vision as he watched the two figures keep dodging. Dark Hound. Wood style. Wood ingot wall. The smoke cleared, and the wooden wall where armament Haki had been applied was shattered by Akainu. Wood style. Laughing Buddha Jutsu. Countless wooden hands attacked Akainu from the ground. When Akainu avoided it, he was caught by a black hand in the dark. Akainu wanted to transform into elements and leave, but Lin Chen instantly noticed it and used Haki to hold it firmly. Iron Fist. Break the air. Emission. Throwing Akainu towards the two of them, they had to give up the attack. Seeing this, Lin Chen clasped his hands together. Sage Art. Myojin Gate. Red columns fell from the sky on the three of them. Lin Chen didn't expect these to suppress the other party, he just wanted to hold them back for a while. His eyes turned to the two people in Gion, who were on guard as if facing a formidable enemy. He stretched out the branches with both hands and rushed towards the two of them. Gion looked solemn. The secret of two sword styles. Dragon Flash. The two people's bodies were intertwined. Gion covered his bleeding shoulder with a look of disbelief on his face. This person actually saw the shortcomings of his Nido Ryu secrets. Looking at Gion, whose shoulder was bleeding, Lin Chen's eyes flashed with an imperceptible gloom. Gion sister, my two-sword style secret move is extremely fast. But it also has a fatal flaw. You must be careful after I teach it to you. I didn't expect that the little guy who became my disciple would now be able to teach me swordsmanship. Tell me, what's the shortcoming? Because the explosion in a short period of time is very large, the attack line can only go straight forward, so the frontal lethality is extremely high, but you must protect your flanks. Once the enemy evades and attacks the side of the body, it will put a huge load on your body. But don't worry, no one has been able to discover the shortcomings of this move yet. After all, the power of this move looks very scary from the front. I guess not many people will think of counter-attacking and will only avoid it. Ignoring Gion, Lin Chen turned around to avoid Kaki's fist and kicked Kaki in the stomach. Jaji's eyes widened, blood vomited out of his mouth, and the feeling of having weapons penetrated into his body was not pleasant. The branch scratched an obvious scar on Jaji's chest, and Lin Chen snatched the snow fruit from his arms. Great eruption. Before he could dodge, Lin Chen was hit in the back by Akainu. His black robe was completely burned and his back was extensively burned. With Hashirama's physique, Lin Chen recovered quickly, but attacks from Garp and Zephyr also came one after another. Sage art. Wood style. True several thousand hands. There was no way to dodge, and Lin Chen didn't want to use the pupil technique to expose him. After all, Akainu was one of the victims of this move, and he must have been deeply impressed by this move. Therefore, Lin Chen can only use true several thousand hands. Attack is the best defense. A huge statue of Guanyin emerges from the ground, forcing Garp and Zephyr away. Jiaji lay on the ground and vomited blood, pointing at Lin Chen with trembling fingers. He took away the fruit. Garp was furious when he heard this. Damn it, Zephyr. Go. Take the fruit back. Don't miss it again this time. In anger, the two stepped on the air and came to Lin Chen instantly before he could react. What? How could it be so fast? This scene shocked Lin Chen. After using true several thousand hands, I always clean up the battlefield. I didn't expect Garp and Zephyr to reach a height of 100 meters in an instant. Or in front of me. Both of them were masters of physical skills, and they immediately joined forces to attack Lin Chen. Carrying Haki, even the surrounding air was oppressed, and Lin Chen finally experienced the feeling of those enemies being locked by his attacks and unable to escape. Chapter 25 Domestic Violence Scene. Advertise here. Looking at the incoming fist wind, Lin Chen didn't dare to be careless at all. When Sage Mode was turned on, Lin Chen's physical fitness also greatly improved. He waved out his hands to block the two men's attacks and retreated violently. Looking at the marks he had made on the ground, Lin Chen shook his arm. These two old men were really sneaky. If he hadn't taken precautions in advance, his arm would have been destroyed by their Haki. With Hashirama cells and Sage Mode, Lin Chen's body recovered quickly. Garp and Zephyr also knew that they couldn't let the man in front of them continue to use those strange pieces of wood, otherwise they would only be pulled endlessly. Thinking of this, the two looked at each other, stepped on the Guanyin statue of true several thousand hands and quickly rushed towards Lin Chen. Lin Chen cursed secretly in his heart. He was too careless and had insufficient combat experience. When facing a physical master of the same level or even higher than himself, using wood style without keeping a distance would only make him fall into the trap. Downwind. This kind of move is only suitable for release on a large-scale battlefield, and has not been targeted by anyone. It is obviously not suitable in the current situation. Garp and Zephyr are both experienced masters in the battlefield. They know that Lin Chen's advantage lies in using these things to fight with them. How could they possibly follow Lin Chen's wishes? Only by quickly fighting Lin Chen at close quarters and giving full play to his physical strength, it would not be a certainty that Lin Chen would be killed by then. Seeing two people rushing towards him from the left and right, and an Akainu staring at him eagerly in the distance, Lin Chen did not dare to be careless at all. The three of them were fighting back and forth on the Guanyin statue. It seemed that they were evenly matched, but in fact, Lin Chen was almost forced into a desperate situation. Only with high-level taijutsu and haki, as well as the blessing of Sage Mode and Hashirama cells, he did not fall into a disadvantage quickly, but sooner or later he would be defeated by the two. Garp and Zephyr became more and more frightened as they fought. When could such a powerful person be able to face their attacks at the same time without falling behind? You must know that this is a collision duel of pure physical skills. The last time such a person was when Golden Lion attacked Marineford, but Golden Lion used its fruit ability, and he and Sengoku didn't expend too much power. Another move forced the two of them back, and Lin Chen was a little over the top at this time. This kind of battle was completely enjoyable for strong men of their level. I recognize the physical skills of you two. Among the opponents I have encountered, I, Madara, would like to call you the strongest. The two looked at each other, and at this time they became more and more courageous, and rushed forward to fight with Lin Chen again. After taking a breath, Lin Chen watched the two men who were attacking again cheer up and fight again. This time Lin Chen chose to trade injuries for injuries. With Sage Mode and Hashirama cells, he was not afraid of temporary injuries and could accept it as long as he did not suffer severe injuries in an instant. Only by choosing a life-threatening style of play can you find a chance to leave. Holding Garp's fist, Lin Chen punched him on the chin equally unceremoniously, and then kicked Zephyr away. Garp shook his head and looked worried at Zephyr, who was squatting on the ground. Zephyr, it's okay. Lin Chen looked at Zephyr, who was out of breath and was also a little worried. He knew that teacher Zephyr was not in good health, so he was much gentler. Zephyr took out the medicine in his arms and took a deep breath, then stood up and continued to look at Lin Chen. Garp, Laozi is not too old to fight yet. Lin Chen knew that this was not the way to go, so he retreated violently, while pretending to be weak with all his strength. I've realized the strength of you two old men. I won't play with you anymore. His eyes swept across Gion on the battlefield in the distance, and Lin Chen had already planned how to evacuate. Wood style. Wood dragon technique. Two wooden dragons rushed towards Garp and Zephyr, briefly hindering their progress. Dog bites Gurren. Lin Chen chuckled softly, and just when Akainu, this bitch, left Gion and Kaki, he just pretended to be weak, and this guy finally couldn't help but want to sneak up on me and hit me hard. Just when Akainu's attack was about to fall on Lin Chen's figure disappeared instantly. Immediately afterwards, Guillaume, who had been observing the battlefield, heard the indifferent voice in his ears, and at the same time, a sharp branch pressed against Guillaume's neck. Don't move. Looking at the necklace with the flying thunder god warlock printed on it that Guillaume was wearing, Lin Chen felt very uncomfortable. He was really not a man, but on the battlefield, especially in this situation, there was no other way. Garp, Zephyr, Akainu, the three of them looked at Lin Chen in shock. How could he appear next to Guillaume? If looks could kill, Akainu had been killed 1,000 times by Garp and Zephyr, and he couldn't even look at him. It was clear that he were close to taking that guy down. At the same time, the two of them also hated Lin Chen. They thought he was some kind of master before, with the arrogance of a master, but now he is just a guy who does whatever it takes to achieve his goals. Guillaume felt the stinging pain coming from his neck, but he was not the kind of person to sit still and wait for death. Hokage covered his neck to prevent injury, and unsheathed the long sword at his waist. Just as he was about to counterattack, Lin Chen's big hand was already pressing on Guillaume's hand, and at the same time, the half-unsheathed longsword was also pressed back. Leaning close to Guillaume's ear, Lin Chen said without a trace of emotion. If you struggle any longer, I'll kill your companion. Don't worry, I don't want to be an enemy of Marine. This time I just want to get the snow fruit. As he spoke, he pointed to Jiaji who was lying on the ground beside him. Guillaume felt a little uncomfortable with the heat coming from his ears, especially when the person behind him was close to him, which made him very angry, but there was nothing he could do about it. Knowing that Guillaume would definitely make some small moves, the branches in Lin Chen's hand slowly wrapped around Guillaume's body. You must know that wood style not only has the ability to transform terrain and combat power, but it can also absorb the enemy's vitality and physical strength. Lin Chen, who had reached the 8th level of wood style, was naturally able to grasp the situation well and only absorbed part of Guillaume's physical strength, which made Guillaume, who already had little physical strength, collapse into the branches. Pulling out Jingjae from Guillaume's waist, Lin Chen walked up to Kaki under Guillaume's resentful eyes, watching his former love rival lying on the ground speechless, with Lin Chen holding a long knife against his throat. Next to him, he looked at Garp, Zephyr, Akainu and the others without any emotion in his eyes. Sometimes it is very reasonable to use some means in order to achieve the goal. Seeing Akainu trying to make some move, Lin Chen mocked a little. Akainu, you don't want this Marine to die by my sword. Although I don't know what happened in Marine, Lin Chen's previous observations found that Akainu attaches great importance to Garp, while Garp and Zephyr also focus on Guillaume. Of course, Lin Chen knew that part of the reason was because of himself, but there was nothing he could do about it at this time. He only asked Sister Guillaume not to let him sleep in the living room when the truth came out in the future, and that Garp and Zephyr would be gentler. Chapter 26 Tangled. After removing True several thousand hands, Lin Chen felt that he had to think through his moves before using them, otherwise he would look like an idiot. Garp and Zephyr looked at each other and made plans. Boy, let go of Guillaume. We won't pursue snow fruit anymore. Just leave. Akainu looked at Kaki who fell to the ground with a gloomy expression. Marine deployed half of its high-end combat power but couldn't even take down this guy. It's really a great shame. Lin Chen kicked Jiaji on the ground towards several people and said at the same time. This is my sincerity. I have no intention of being an enemy of you Marine. Don't worry about Miss Guillaume. I will release her when I evacuate to a safe area. Garp's face was furious, and he clenched his iron fists tightly. The feeling of being threatened was very unpleasant. Looking at Garp's expression, Lin Chen sighed in his heart. If Akainu and Kaki hadn't been here, and he was already drinking with Garp, Zephyr, Sister Guillaume, would there be any need for this situation to happen? He could only wait until later to find an opportunity to confess to a few people. Thinking of this, Lin Chen's hatred for Akainu grew even more. The sounds of fighting in the distance from time to time made everyone present feel a little worried. Garp and the others knew that there were pirates with the strength of the vice admirals on the island this time. The vice admirals alone were really no match for them, but they were all dragged here by Lin Chen, and the situation was very critical. As if confirming what they were thinking, their phones rang after a while, followed by his somewhat angry voice. What are you guys doing? There is a serious lack of high-end marine combat power on the island. You have never shown up at this critical moment. Is there anyone who can hold you back? Several people looked at each other with a little bad expression on their faces. Seeing this, Lin Chen also knew that he should retreat. Don't worry, I don't plan to make an enemy of Marine at the moment. It seems that there are still many things on the island that need you. I will naturally let Guillaume go when I reach a safe area. Saying that, Lin Chen took Guillaume and flew high into the sky without hesitation. Garp and the others clenched their fists but were helpless. They had obviously beaten Lin Chen, but they were threatened by this guy using this method. People are very frustrated. Lin Chen was unwilling to use this method, but he couldn't trust Akainu. No matter whether he had a hostage or not, this guy would definitely attack him. With Guillaume in hand, Garp and Zephyr would definitely stop Akainu, and it was hard to tell what he could do. If Garp and Zephyr weren't here, Lin Chen wouldn't be able to use this move. He knew Akainu wouldn't care about this. Flying high in the sky, Lin Chen relaxed when he saw that Garp and the others did not chase him. The successive battles were too much for him. Even Shini has used it several times, otherwise he really wouldn't be able to afford the chakra consumed by summoning true several thousand hands. This is also the reason why Lin Chen has never been at a disadvantage when fighting against Garp, Zephyr and Akainu. Let other strong men with Emperor-level strength try to be surrounded by these three people, and they will lose their skin even if they don't die. Flying in the air, Gion also recovered a little strength. Looking at the masked guy in front of him, he was very angry and felt aggrieved. It was obvious that he had trained hard over the past year to become stronger. He trained crazily with thoughts of Lin Chen. From the one-sword style in the past to the two-sword style swordsman he is today, he spent a lot of hard work and effort. But he didn't expect to be defeated at the critical moment, and even used as hostages to threaten Uncle Garp and Uncle Zephyr. Gion's nose felt sour when he thought of this. When will he be able to avenge him if this continues? Lin Chen, who was flying in the air, noticed the change in Gion's mood, and his heart trembled when he saw her somewhat red eyes. Looking at Gion's once white and tender hands, Lin Chen could not imagine how she had gotten through this year. As if he noticed Lin Chen looking at him, Gion snorted coldly, turned his head away, and said coldly, "Remember to return my saber to me, otherwise I will chase you to the ends of the earth." Hearing the coldness emanating from Gion's mouth, Lin Chen was wondering whether he should confess his identity. He really couldn't bear to see Gion like this. And there are only two people in the air now, which is indeed a good opportunity. Although he and his organization are engaged in illegal activities and cannot be exposed in the eyes of the five elders and those untrustworthy marines, relatives like Garp, Zephyr, Gion are completely trustworthy. Lin Chen knew that even if a few people knew the truth about his resurrection from the dead and his plans, some of them would only be happy, and they would even find ways to hide themselves, and they would definitely not harm themselves. After clearing his throat, Lin Chen spoke slowly in the air. "Gion, brother Lao Sha, I sensed Master Madara's figure. He doesn't look injured, but he seems to be carrying a woman with him. Go over immediately. Be careful of the enemy's pursuit." Seeing Crocodile and Enel flying in the distance, Lin Chen instantly stopped what he was going to say next. Gion looked at Lin Chen, who had just spoken with some confusion, then shook his head with a bitter smile on his lips. "Did I miss Lin Chen so much that I just had an auditory hallucination? What a familiar voice. It was a voice that appeared in my dreams day and night, but this was just a dream after all, he was no longer here." Crocodile flew towards Lin Chen with Enel, and they met together in the air. He frowned as he looked at Gion Crocodile, who was bound by branches. "Why did you bring this yellow-haired girl here? You know she was very cruel to me in the previous battle. She didn't bring her here for me to take revenge, right?" Gion's face turned pale when he heard Crocodile's words. These people were not good people after all, and he was probably going to be killed. Looking at Gion's pale face, Lin Chen frowned and scolded Crocodile. "What the hell are you farting? We are not vicious pirates at daybreak. When are we going to do this? The previous battles were just about different stances. We and Marine are not enemies in the true sense. It's just about different stances." Seeing the suddenly angry Lin Chen, Crocodile was a little confused. He was just trying to scare Gion, but Lin Chen had such a big reaction. "You don't have a crush on this guy, do you?" Hearing Crocodile's words, Lin Chen wanted to punch him, but after thinking about it, he gave up. He just wrote down Crocodile's little notebook in his heart, for no reason other than to threaten Gion. He loosened the branches that bound Gion, and at the same time returned Jingjae to Gion. "Let's go." Gion looked at Lin Chen with some doubts. Did this guy really let him go like this? But he was not a fool. After getting the weapon, he immediately ran in the direction of Garp. Looking at Gion's figure, Lin Chen sighed. He didn't know when they would see each other next time and whether he would have a chance to tell her the truth. Chapter 27-24 Character Mantra. Arriving at the back mountain, Monet was holding Sutang and looking at Lin Chen with some worry. The same was true for the surrounding villagers who were rescued by Lin Chen. After first appeasing everyone, Lin Chen frowned and thought about what to do next. Lin Chen asked while looking at Crocodile. "Where's that guy Doflamingo?" Upon hearing Lin Chen's question, Crocodile clenched his fist and smashed it against the wall. That guy noticed something was wrong a long time ago and evacuated while Marine was surrounding this place. Hearing this, Lin Chen waved his hands and didn't care at all. "If you run away, just run away. That guy's nose is as sharp as a dog, and it doesn't matter whether he's here or not. What's important is that he has been tied up with us after this incident, and everyone in the underground world will think of him. The Don Quixote family and our Don are one. From now on he will have to recognize it even if he pinches his nose." When he reached the top of the mountain, a battle was still taking place on the battlefield in the distance. With his vision, he could vaguely see several people flying in the air and escaping from here. It is estimated that only those pirates who can fly can escape, but the three of them fighting with Garp can be considered as indirectly helping those pirates, otherwise none of them will be able to escape. Looking at the people behind him, Lin Chen asked. "I guess I won't be able to stay in the next Sika country. Where are you going?" The faces of everyone behind him were confused. Where else could they go? It's the same everywhere. They can't make it in this world without money. Even if the Sika kingdom returned to its original state, they would just live one day at a time, and they might be killed by pirates or abducted by slave traders one day. Seeing that everyone was silent, Lin Chen also understood the reason. Looking at the dirty little face of Sugar, Lin Chen touched her head while thinking about countermeasures. Just as Lin Chen was thinking, a gust of breeze blew. Enel and Crocodile were shocked. A man in green robes appeared behind them. Are you the leader of the Dawn organization? Lin Chen turned around and saw a man wearing a hood and a green robe with shoe prints on his face looking at him. Monkey D. Dragon. Long was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect him to recognize him immediately. The current revolutionary army has not been so exposed. Do you have to go back and reorganize the revolutionary army? It's not time to be exposed yet. In fact, what Long didn't know was that there were many photos of Long in Garp's house. Lin Chen had grown tired of seeing most of them since he was a child. Lin Chen didn't know what Long was thinking in his heart, and he was equally surprised by Long's arrival. Before he could find it, the other party came to the door first, and he was still unaware of it. None of the three people noticed when the dragon arrived. When he discovered that Lin Chen recognized him, Long did not hide anything. Since you know my identity, you must also know my purpose. After hearing Long's words, Lin Chen pretended to be stupid and said blankly. Why are you here? What are you doing here? When Yanlong's mouth twitched. Your name should be Madara. I believe that after this battle, you and your organization will spread throughout the world. Not only do you have strength that is not weaker than Admiral, but your subordinates are all Logia fruit users. At the same time, in this auction the biggest trophy was intercepted at the meeting, Snow Fruit. Even the entire underground world has been basically eliminated by your organization. I'm afraid you will cover the sky in the underground world with one hand. Lin Chen touched his head when he heard Long's words. Why didn't I know we were so powerful? Seeing Lin Chen continue to act stupid, he was not angry. During this auction, he had witnessed how a power rose. He would not believe it if he really had nothing to do with the person in front of him. Thinking of his purpose, Long decided it would be better to test this organization first. Madara, what are your thoughts on celestial dragons and world government? After hearing Long's words, Lin Chen's face under the mask gradually became serious. It seemed that Long came here with serious intentions. But after going through so much, I am no longer the stupid self I once was, so naturally I won't tell everything. I have nothing against the celestial dragons or the world government. They maintain a stable rule in the world, right? Lin Chen's eyes flashed, and he threw the question back to Long, ready to see how he would answer. Long obviously didn't expect Lin Chen to make this move and frowned. I think what you said is a bit biased. After hearing Long's words, Lin Chen motioned for him to continue. Long suppressed the uneasiness in his heart and continued. The existence of celestial dragons is like a root nodule, poisoning the people of the world. Every country has to hand over heavenly gold to the world government, and a large part of it goes into the pockets of celestial dragons. The member countries that can pay the heavenly fee will naturally be able to obtain Marine's protection, but the money is collected from the hands of their citizens. Sometimes when the collection is not enough, they will even plunder them by force to get enough gold from the sky. And those countries that cannot afford to pay the heavenly gold will naturally not be protected by Marine, and become a paradise for pirates and those in the underground world, just like the Sika kingdom now. Looking at the completely destroyed Sika kingdom in the distance, Long sighed in his heart. This is why Doflamingo chose to hold the auction in this place. Here, even if you kill everyone in the entire country, no one will find trouble with you. If you dare to do this in a franchised country, then wait for Marine sanctions. After a pause, Long looked at Lin Chen's mask, as if he wanted to see Lin Chen's expression clearly under the mask. Don't you think this system policy is very unreasonable? Lin Chen chuckled softly when he heard Long's words, and his previous frivolity was no longer in his words. So what do you think? Why do you come here to look for me? Dragon. After hearing Lin Chen's serious words, Long Yi replied seriously. I need your power to overthrow this deformed system. Lin Chen was a little disappointed when he heard Long's answer. He thought he was a more powerful terrorist than himself. Looking at Lin Chen, Long, who was shaking his head, he was a little confused. He said such bold words, but Lin Chen just shook his head. Looking at Long now, Lin Chen felt that he needed to give him a thought storm. Your ideas are too childish, Long. Have you ever heard of the 24-character mantra? Long looked at Lin Chen with some doubts. The 24-character mantra. What is that? Hearing this, Lin Chen's eyes showed a smile. It was time to show his real skills. He walked over and put his hand on Long's shoulder. Then Lin Chen baptized Long's red thoughts. From being confused at the beginning to shocked in the middle, Long's thoughts have been sublimated in the end. His eyes no longer reveal a trace of vicissitudes of life, but look at Lin Chen with piercing spirit. Madara. Does such a world really exist? Lin Chen nodded and answered without hesitation. This is a career worthy of our lifelong struggle. Long nodded. At this moment, he recognized his life mentor. He also understood how narrow his previous thoughts were. The man in front of him opened a new door for him. Looking at Long at this time, Lin Chen also knew that his brainwashing plan had been successful and said with satisfaction. So in order to complete our cause, slaying the celestial dragons is what must be done. Seize the heavenly gold. Surprise attack on Mariejois. These are still waiting for us. Seeing Long's shocked but accepting expression, Lin Chen patted Long's shoulder with great satisfaction in his eyes. For the sake of sacrifice, I dare to make the sun and moon change the sky. Chapter 28 Two Kings Cooperation. Advertise here. Lin Chen looked at Long, and a bold idea came to his mind, and he looked at Long with burning eyes. Dragon, why don't you join Daybreak? Let's create a fair world together. Unexpectedly, Long was stunned for a moment after hearing Lin Chen's words, and after thinking for a moment, he did not give an accurate answer. Madara, I'm sorry, I can't agree to this right away. I'm not alone. There are many companions behind me, and they all still need me. Lin Chen was a little disappointed when he heard Long's words, but judging by his tone, it seemed that there was still something to be done about it. After thinking about it, Lin Chen said, since you can't join our organization, but our positions are the same, there may be many places where we can cooperate. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Long also felt that it was very reasonable, and after experiencing Lin Chen's brainwashing, he felt that he still had many things to ask Lin Chen for advice. Lin Chen looked at the battlefield that had gradually calmed down in the distance. Behind him were the remaining people from the Sika kingdom. He turned to look at Long and asked, Long, what do you think the future of Sika country will be like? After thinking for a while, Long replied, the people are miserable, the people are in dire straits, and the country of Sika will soon become dust in history. Lin Chen Kaido, so Long, do you think the kingdom of Sika can become a force in our hands? After thinking for a moment, Long still shook his head. No, the country here is weak and cannot provide us with effective power. Hearing Long's answer, Lin Chen chuckled. Have you ever heard that a single spark can start a prairie fire? Long looked at Lin Chen with some confusion. Lin Chen first explained what he meant to Long, and then said, although Sika country is weak, this is also good news. Think about the suffering that the Sika country has suffered over the years, because non-member countries are not allowed to be slaughtered by others. If we come on stage at this time, we can provide them with protection even if we don't need gold from the sky. Is the entire country he is so grateful to us? Long frowned after hearing this. In this way, they are on the opposite side of the world government. I am afraid that their future life will be even more difficult. Lin Chen shook his head. Of course I know the consequences of doing this, so we are hiding it for now. Even the world government is not monolithic. How many countries have tried their best to get enough gold? We only need to lobby and negotiate with them, and show off at the critical moment. Show off our muscles and tell them that we are as strong as Marine, and they will naturally jump to us. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Long Yiren felt that there were too many loopholes in them. The man in front of him thought about things too well, but he didn't expect that Lin Chen's next words made him suddenly enlightened. You may think that what I said is full of contradictions, but it doesn't matter. Many countries have joined world government just because world government has existed for 800 years. If we can create a disaster against world government or celestial dragons, let those countries know about the corruption of this organization and undermine the prestige of celestial dragons, and then people in those countries will naturally believe in us. And we must protect the Sika country beautifully and let those countries know that it is much better to be protected by us than by the world government. The point is that the Marines are not monolithic. Only by uniting all available forces can we overthrow the real mountain. Of course, this is just a rough plan. What really determines the direction of things is our strength. Without strength, everything is just talk on paper. After all, political power can come from the barrel of a gun. Hearing Yanlong nodded, Lin Chen's words reached his heart. Looking at the completely destroyed Sika kingdom in the distance, Long asked. The kingdom of Sika has been destroyed like this, can you make them recover? Lin Chen waved his hand. It's just a piece of cake. Instructing the people behind him to follow him closely, Lin Chen and the others slowly arrived at the center where the battle had taken place. Looking at the ruins, countless withered trees are interspersed on the surface, and the traces of Lin Chen wood style are still very obvious. Long looked a little shocked at what he saw in front of him. As expected of the leader of the Dawn organization, this kind of strength already qualifies him to be on top of the world. Lin Chen didn't pay much attention to it. He only knew his own strength. At present, he was only at the emperor level. There were only a few people in the world who could fight him back and forth. Kaido, Whitebeard, Charlotte Linlin, Marshal Sengoku, Old Man Garp, just these famous strong men can be 50-50 equal to their normal self, not to mention the hidden masters. Even Long Lin Chen in front of him felt that he also had emperor-level strength. In addition, Lin Chen, Kizaru's brother in Marine, never saw through it. Having said that, if the Susanoo Buddha is used, Lin Chen still feels that he can arm wrestle with two emperor-level powerhouses. Whether he can beat them or not depends on actual combat. Only by gaining the power of the Rinnegan and the legendary Six Paths can Lin Chen dare to say that he is on top of the world. Arriving at the previous auction site, there were many bloodlines scattered on the ground. This war was not fast, but it did take a while. The fight for Devil Fruit had started when the group of people fought for it. Lin Chen joined the battlefield around the same time. He came to the back mountain and chatted with Long for nearly half a day, and the battle had ended long ago. Looking at the broken limbs on the ground, Lin Chen subconsciously stood in front of Monet and Sha Tang. Lao Sha also knew what to do. Sand slowly covered the ground, cleaning the battlefield again. Then Lin Chen asked Enel to use observation Hokage to sense it, and found that there was indeed no trace of marine, pirates or anyone else. It can be said that the Sika kingdom was destroyed in history, and no one cares about how the subsequent citizens will survive. Lin Chen admitted that a large part of the reason for this was because of himself, but in the final analysis it was still because of the system and nature of this world. Lin Chen had understood a lot about the law of the jungle over the strong in the past year. If you want to achieve great things, someone must sacrifice. Besides, why is this not a rebirth for the Sika kingdom? Lin Chen clasped his hands together. Wood style. Lian Zhu family technique. The previously withered branches seemed to come to life, and with the new branches summoned by Lin Chen, houses rose up on the battlefield in a short time. Glancing at the shocked Long beside him, Lin Chen smiled. At this time, Long was convinced that Lin Chen really had the ability to realize his plan. The two looked at each other and clasped their hands tightly. Madara, I want to believe you. I am the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Monkey D. Dragon, you can also call me Dorag. Dragon, my name is Madara, I am the leader of the Dawn organization. At this moment, the two people already believed that each other was a partner who could fight side by side, and the Dawn organization also formally cooperated with the Revolutionary Army. Chapter 29 3 Logias. Advertise here. A month has passed since the auction battle. In the past month, Lin Chen has been working on the post-war recovery of the Sika kingdom, while Long has brought over his Revolutionary Army partners to help the Sika kingdom formulate its future policies. It is worth mentioning that after this war, the number of citizens of the Sika kingdom has been less than 100,000, and even the king does not know where he is buried. In desperation, Lin Chen had no choice but to rule the Sika country together with Long, and the country was officially renamed the United Communist Country, or the Republic for short. At this time, Lin Chen was standing at the port. It was time for him to leave, but there was one thing that gave him a headache. Lin Chen was very confused about how to use snow fruit and who should use it. After looking at Monet behind him, Lin Chen covered his forehead. After the little girl learned that she was leaving, she kept dragging Sugar around her and couldn't drive her away. To be honest, Lin Chen didn't want Monet to be involved in her plan. She and Sugar would live a good life in the current republic. Relying on the ideas and principles he taught him, Long has managed this place in an orderly manner, and a just and peaceful order has grown up on this land. Madara, just take me and Sugar. You are not pirates anyway. Just take us around the world. Hearing Monet's words, Lin Chen sighed in his heart. If he had known better, he wouldn't pretend to be a good person. At first, he said that he was a pirate and there were so many things. Now these two guys are pestering him and he can't get rid of them. Trouble. Madara, take them both. Crocodile said something on the side. Lin Chen looked at Crocodile in shock, but he didn't expect that he would also agree to let them join. Turning to look at Enel, Enel spread his hands. I don't care, but I think it would be nice to have two more people on board. Lin Chen curled his lips. What's the difference between your words and agreement? Crocodile looked at Lin Chen and continued. Aren't you always confused about the candidate for snow fruit? Why don't you give it to Monet? That way we can cultivate her ourselves, and at the same time we can trust Monet. Lao Sha, are you really willing to involve the two of them? Crocodile patted Lin Chen's shoulder and shook his head. You are so kind. Madara, Monet and Sugar are all children without their parents. Even if they live a good life in the Republic, can you ensure that they grow up safely? Where there is light, evil will breed. The Republic there are still many areas that need improvement. Instead of doing this, it is better to give snow fruit to Monet. We can train them ourselves and they will be useful in the future. Don't lose the best candidates because of your indecision. Lin Chen's heart trembled when he heard Crocodile's words. He was indeed too gentle, and sometimes could even be said to be indecisive. This was undoubtedly a bad thing for Daybreak that the leader was a person with this kind of personality. As the leader of an organization, you should always consider the interests of the organization first and not mix too many personal feelings. Thinking of this, Lin Chen fell silent and realized something in his heart. If you really want to make a person live a good life, you should teach her to have the power to protect herself, instead of letting her just be a flower in the greenhouse. How could I make such a stupid mistake, especially in this world of jungle? With a decision in his heart, Lin Chen looked up at Lao Sha with gratitude in his eyes. Lao Sha, thank you very much. Turning to look at Monet, who was a little nervous, Lin Chen touched her head. If you want to follow us, you will suffer a lot. Don't quit easily in the middle. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Monet was stunned for a moment, then a smile appeared on his face and he nodded vigorously. Well, as long as my sister and I follow you, I'm not afraid of anything. Seeing how determined Monet was, Lin Chen took out the snow fruit and handed it to Monet. First of all, The first hurdle you have to overcome is to eat the fruit in front of you. Monet looked at the fruit in his hand and took a bite without hesitation. Then an unspeakable smell filled Monet's mouth, making Monet's entire face distort. With a few tears squeezed out of his eyes, Monet looked at Lin Chen pitifully. Do I have to eat it all? Crocodile on the side took away the remaining fruit with a wave of his hand and said lightly. That's enough, you passed. Lin Chen twitched his mouth, but before he said anything, Lao Sha decided like this. If this continues, his status may not be guaranteed. As if knowing what Lin Chen was thinking, Crocodile patted Lin Chen on the shoulder. There's no point regretting it. The devil fruit has been eaten. She is your third Logia subordinate. Lin Chen ignored Crocodile and looked at Monet and Sugar with a sunny smile. We will all be partners from now on. Although Monet is still young, only a teenager, this means she has a lot of room to grow. Looking at Monet, Lin Chen thought of his good friend Smoker again. That guy also ate the Logia devil fruit smoke fruit when he was a teenager. However, he still seems to be lazy after so many years. He can't train Monet into that look. When he arrived at the port, Lin Chen waved his hands. Countless trees stretched out from the hands, and then a ship similar to before appeared in front of everyone, and Daybreak 7 was successfully born. Including the previous ones that were destroyed for various reasons, this is also their 7th ship. Although it is convenient to build a ship with wood style, Lin Chen feels that it is necessary to find a very powerful ship, such as Pluton. Thinking that Tom should still be on the Grand Line now, Lin Chen felt that he had to take time to go there, but of course not now. Several people left the Republic by boat while bidding farewell to the dragon and a group of revolutionary troops. This time they were going to the Don Quixote family's residence. Lin Chen had many things to settle with Doflamingo. When several people arrived at the Don Quixote family's residence, they found that it was already empty. Lin Chen asked, frowning and looking at Crocodile. Where do you think they went? Crocodile shook his head, but Enel suddenly pointed to a building in the distance. There were people there, 2 people. Hearing this, Lin Chen led everyone over and opened the door. The person in front of him made Lin Chen's pupils shrink. The man had yellow hair, a red hood, and a black feather coat behind him. He was Doflamingo's younger brother Rocinante. Lin Chen had met this person several times during his time at Marine. He seemed to be the adopted son of Marshal Sengoku, nicknamed Migyu, which was exactly the opposite of Sengoku's Big Senbei. Because he is the adopted son of Garp, and Rocinante is the adopted son of Sengoku. Although the two have not had much interaction, they have heard of each other and have met several times. It's just that Lin Chen had never seen him again when he graduated from Marine School a few years ago. He didn't expect that he would appear here now. Looking at the other person, a 10-year-old child was lying on the ground with a pale face. Rocinante was working hard to treat him, while looking at Lin Chen and others with wary expressions. Chapter 30 Rocinante joins. Rocinante was a little shocked when he saw the people coming in. He had clearly activated his fruit ability, how could he be discovered by others? Especially when he saw the appearance of the leading people clearly, his heart was filled with confusion. Madara, the leader of the Daybreak organization, is suspected of being a user with the ability of the Sensen fruit, and has a bounty of 1.5 billion berries. Crocodile, a member of the Breaking Dawn organization and one of the former 7 warlords of the sea, has Sand fruit ability, nicknamed Sand Crocodile, and has a bounty of 950 million berries. A member of the Breaking Dawn organization and a user with Thunder fruit abilities, Enel, nicknamed Thor, has a bounty of 550 million berries. And his brother was also classified as a member of the Dawn organization by the world government and put a bounty on his head. A member of the Breaking Dawn organization and a user with string fruit abilities, Doflamingo, nicknamed Heavenly Yaksha, has a bounty of 650 million berries. Thinking of what the Daybreak organization had done the previous month, as well as the testimony of world government and Marine, Rocinante was a little anxious and kept shouting at the children on the ground. Luo, eat the op fruit quickly. This Daybreak organization is famous for robbing devil fruit. You must be targeting the op fruit when you come here. As he spoke, he took out the devil fruit in his arms and forced Luo to eat it with a reluctant expression on his face. All this was seen by Lin Chen, but he did not take any action. As soon as Rocinante entered the room in the sight of several people, she shouted something to the child on the ground, but none of them heard the sound. Then Rocinante took out a devil fruit and forced the child on the ground to eat it. Several people didn't know what happened. They came here just to find Doflamingo. What surprised a few people was that the child who was lying on the ground dying immediately became mentally better after eating the devil fruit. Lin Chen walked forward, but Rocinante didn't dare to be careless and blocked the child on the ground. Hey, where did Doflamingo go? After hearing Lin Chen's question, Rocinante was silent for a moment and then said. He took the Don Quixote family to the New World. New World. Lin Chen rubbed his chin. He knew that Doflamingo might be afraid that he would settle a score with him and run away early. Unexpectedly, he ran directly to New World, and the foundation here could be said to be destroyed. But with Doflamingo's ability, it's very easy to make a name for himself in the New World. After thinking about it, Lin Chen didn't plan to go to New World to find Doflamingo now. He would meet him in the future, so there was no rush. Besides, it wasn't time to use him again yet. After all, his identity as Celestial Dragons is related to Lin Chen's most important plan. If it succeeds, Lin Chen dares to say that no one in the world can be his enemy. Looking at Rocinante in front of him, a new plan arose in Lin Chen's heart. On the one hand, he once had a comradeship with him, and on the other hand, Rocinante may have unexpected effects when facing Marshal Sengoku again in the future. Looking at the guarded Rocinante, Lin Chen was a little curious as to why he appeared here. Whether he was sent by Marine to perform a mission or he quit Marine himself, Lin Chen didn't know. Thinking of his relationship with Sengoku, it is more likely that Lin Chen came to perform a mission. Crocodile on the side walked forward and looked at Rocinante with interest, and said in Lin Chen's ear. Rocinante, Doflamingo's biological brother, recently returned to the Don Quixote family after being missing for many years. Lin Chen was suddenly startled when he heard Crocodile's words. All his thoughts were instantly clarified. He looked deeply at Rocinante, but he did not tell what he knew. I am afraid that the two brothers were separated due to something early on. The young Rocinante was adopted by Sengoku and joined the Marine. Now he is sent out to perform tasks. I am afraid it has something to do with the Doflamingo and Don Quixote family. Crocodile's voice continued to ring in his ears. The devil fruit op fruit, which was second to last in the auction a month ago, was robbed. Dies Barreros, who auctioned the fruit, claimed that it was robbed that night, and there was no movement during the whole process. It seems that the initiator is you, the silence fruit power user, Rocinante, so is there Doflamingo's instructions behind this. Lin Chen looked at Crocodile approvingly. As expected of his deputy, he immediately said everything he wanted to say. Just as he was about to say something, he realized that Crocodile had already stepped forward, and the crocodile on his shoulder was bleeding. Not only did you steal the devil fruit and disrupt the order, but you also don't take us seriously at dawn. It just so happens that your brother has run away and we can't find him. You should bear our anger. Of course we won't, it will kill you, but you can rest assured and live until we find your brother. How we live depends on our mood. Hearing this, Lin Chen quickly stopped Crocodile. Lao Sha. Crocodile turned to look at Lin Chen, waiting for his next words. Old Sha, it is still useful to keep Rocinante now. If there is really Doflamingo's shadow behind him snatching the op fruit, then at least this fruit should not be eaten by this dying child. Do you think Doflamingo would let this fruit go to a dying child like this? Crocodile's eyes sparkled. You mean? Lin Chen chuckled. Take these two people away. Anyway, the child also ate op fruit. If it can cultivate a good future, it will be a big help. As for Rocinante. Looking at the alert Rocinante in front of him, Lin Chen looked at Crocodile. He still has a great effect on me. As for what it is, I can't tell you yet. He will play a vital role in one of our future plans. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Crocodile put down the sand in his hand and shrugged. In this case, there is nothing we can do. You are the leader of Daybreak. You have the final say. I can only wait until I find Doflamingo to take revenge. I am very unhappy with this guy. Seeing this, Lin Chen comforted Crocodile. Don't worry, there will be a chance in the future. Then we will take him back to Mariejois together. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Crocodile and Lin Chen looked at each other and smiled, both reading the meaning in each other's eyes. Walking up to Rocinante, Lin Chen said calmly. Now you have only two choices. First, take this child and join us. Second, you don't have to join us. I will kill the child. You. After hearing what Lin Chen said, Rocinante was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Looking at Luo, who was still a little weak on the ground, Rocinante could only say. I join. Lin Chen chuckled when he heard Rocinante's words. You can't blame him. He just pinched Rocinante's weakness. Besides, joining him is not a bad thing. He knows Rocinante's true identity. Maybe he can be better by his side. Good to protect him.